This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. And for the first time this playoff season, we have to chew on a home loss for the Winnipeg Jets. Round 2 did not start in a winning fashion last night at Canada Life Centre as Mikko Rantanen scored 3 goals. First player since Jari Curry in the 80s to have back-to-back hat tricks in the Stanley Cup playoffs. He was the difference last night in a very tightly fought game. 3-2 for Dallas. They get first blood and steal home ice advantage from the Winnipeg Jets. We'll break down the game, hear from the coach and a few of the players. And we've got lots on this series. Steve Peters, of course, who we spoke to last year when he was doing all that work down in Phoenix. Still works with ESPN, does the Telestrator. He's got a great YouTube channel. He's broken down the game, watched it a couple times. He's got a number of interesting thoughts. So I'm looking forward to having Petey on before we welcome in our pal Ken Wiebe from the Winnipeg Free Press for more on the series. Now, the Hammer, Jeff Hamilton, is going to join us tomorrow. And at that point, we'll be all in on on game 2 of round 2. But we've got a special Hammer appearance today because P's been on the case. How the hell did this happen? Was Zach Collaros getting suspended for the first game of the season? So we will break that down with Jeff up a little later on. And of course, tonight in Cleburne, Texas, is game 1 of the American Association regular season for our Winnipeg Goldeyes. And we'll certainly do more once the team gets back, but we're going to place a quick call out to Logan Watkins, the Fish manager and last year's American Association Manager of the Year, and just get his thoughts on opening the season tonight in Cleburne, Texas, and then starting the long season and the long trip back to Winnipeg for the Goldeyes home opener on May 20th. Down at the ballpark. We will also execute our marble race. Holy smokes. It's great to see how many cool bettors we've got here listening to the program. Everyone that entered at winnipegsportstalk.com in the playoffs in the PEG contest will have a shot at tickets for game 2, the hottest ticket in town, tomorrow night, late night, Friday night, kicking off the weekend. Jets needing to get a win over the Dallas Stars. Just quick thoughts on the game last night. It was, and we'll hear from Scott Arniel. It was just such a different game, a different series, different matchup, and kind of different atmosphere. Like, certainly the crowd was into it, of course, but it did seem like there's a bit of a hangover for everyone in the city, just over the high and the euphoria of everything that happened on Sunday heading into last night's game. And I would say the same thing for Dallas, too. Like, outside of Rantanen, their big guys, didn't really stand out. I mean, ironically, Rantanen's 2 even-strength goals came when he was being double-shifted with the fourth line, getting away from Adam Lowry. So, I mean, a lot of interesting wrinkles to the game last night. But one thing is clear. The Winnipeg Jets, after having a lot of success against Mikko Rantanen in the regular season, every time he got traded to a team, it seemed like they were playing the Jets. They got a taste of playoff moose last night, and they're going to need to be ready. Although, to be honest, I thought that the Lowry line did a pretty good job against the Hintz line when Rantanen was out there. But a lot of video to be broken down today by Scott Arniel and his coaching staff and the hockey club. We'll get into that with both Steve Peters and Ken Wiebe when we get going on the show. One other thing I just wanted to mention right off the bat, and I feel bad about this. We've been so locked in on the Winnipeg Jets, and that will pretty much be the case. But our own Valor FC last night won a huge match in the Canadian Championship, which means they advanced to the quarterfinals, and they're going to take on the powerhouse Vancouver Whitecaps, who have been running through everybody in MLS. So the Whitecaps and Sam Adekubi from the men's national team are going to be coming to Winnipeg to play against Valor in leg 2 of the tournament. So we will definitely spend more time talking about Valor and certainly that exciting matchup with the Vancouver Whitecaps. I'm pretty sure that this is the first time they've gone up against any of the MLS teams through the Canadian Championship. So anyways, shout out to Valor FC. We'll have to get out for a game relatively soon now that we've got this beautiful weather as we're moving into the new seasons. And soccer is back. And again, we've talked about Sea Bears coming up this month, the Goldeyes, the track, the Bombers, who are underway with minicamp right now and training camp in a couple days. So it really is all happening right now. And man, it is a great time to be a sports fan in Winnipeg, although sports fans in Winnipeg would be a little happier if the home team got that win last night. But a lot of road left to go in this round 2 series between the Jets and the Dallas Stars. Hey, huge thanks to all the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Coolbet, Princess Auto, Toyota, Ben Moss, Let's Do It Travel, Princess Auto, as I mentioned, Aikens Lake, F Apparel, Manitoba Battery, Canadian Club, Rolly's Transfer, St. Vital Dental Center, the Goldeyes, Assiniboia Downs, Breezy Bend, Little Brown Jug, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports. And of course, we'll get to a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray, and some fan feedback for fansfirst.ca, which is a very busy site as people try to get their hands on tickets for Friday night's 8:50 puck drop for Game 2 of the series. Welcome to everybody in chat, and welcome to you, Michael Remis. What is going on?
Hey, just these late starts messing up my whole sleep schedule, but it's playoffs. Got to do what you got to do to put a good show on. So happy to be here. Happy to discuss last night's game. Fun night at Canada Life Center. I think the special team, certainly a difference. It was nice to see all the forward components of that power play. Shafley, Velarde, Ehlers, Connor, all working together. But 0 for 4, not going to get it done. Has a lot of opportunities. I think if you're the Jets, you didn't play your best game, but you were right there with Dallas, and it was Mikko Rantanen, as you mentioned. He had 2 hat tricks in 3 periods. Third period of Game 7 and second period of Game 1. So would have been nice for them to start out 1-0, but first home playoff loss. They, again, weren't at their best, and could have gone a different way. Still, they were still right there.
Yeah, gonna have to be better overall on Friday night. Gotta tie this series up in game number 2, and then try and do what Dallas did in game number 1 when the series shifts to Dallas for games 3 and 4. By the way, for everyone that's with us on chat, and if you're listening on the podcast, head on over to our website and hit on contest. We've got street party tickets for tomorrow's game 2, and we've also got watch party tickets for games 3 and 4. So if you go to the website, you'll click on contest, make sure to enter there. And again, for everybody that is that joins me in sprinkling over at Coolbet, if you have a Coolbet account or if you'd like to get one, you can enter in our playoffs in the peg contest for game tickets for the playoffs. And at the end of today's program, we will be doing the marble race for game 2 in the whiteout tomorrow night between the Jets and the Dallas Stars. Full details there, as well as a link if you haven't signed up yet. Remo, the biggest, and I know, by the way, Remo and Connor did a great job banging out live reaction after the game. That's up on the YouTube channel as well, so you can certainly go and get that afterwards if you need more on it. Biggest takeaway, Remo, is just how different that game looked and felt than the bloodbath that was round 1 against St. Louis. We had said that series was as physical as any series we'd seen in the first round and maybe a series in a long time. But it still was, I don't want to say jarring, but just like Scott Arniel said it himself, that did not feel like round 1 or round 2, game 1 of the playoffs. It kind of felt like game 45 of the regular season. And I know the Winnipeg Jets will be looking to bring an elevated level of intensity and I would say physicality as well to the game when they get back at it on tomorrow night.
I was watching the game, and the first 5 minutes, I was like, where's all the hitting? What's going on here? Dallas did they have any hits in the first 5 minutes? I think they had 1. And I noted that in game 1 of Jets-Blues, the Blues had 32 hits in the first period. The Stars didn't have 32 hits for the entire game. I think it was like 24. And it was 2 teams who just played 7-game series. The Jets had this emotional comeback where St. Louis was just beating them, like hitting very hard every single time they had the puck, and it was completely different. And I was talking to Dave Manuka of Illegal Curve. He was sitting beside me. I said, I feel like I'm watching a Tuesday in November, and it's nice to hear that Scott Arniel said a similar thing, saying it felt like a middle of a regular season game. And I don't know if it's 2 teams who are getting their legs back after playing, hard series for 7 games, and this is a feeling out of game 1, but you were just like on the edge of your seat, game 7, double overtime. So I understand why it would look different. It's not that type of desperation hockey that we saw. It was very noticeable how different it looked, but that's the difference. Game 7 double overtime versus there was
going to be a come down. The high that everyone had been on, and I'm sure the players are in a similar boat. It was probably very difficult to recalibrate. I can tell you from the crowd, and I thought the crowd was different. Like, listen, credit to everybody who was there. By the way, shout out to our guy Jaden. Saw him and his dad in there. They were up in 316 last night. I think there was a lot of people that maybe got to a game that hadn't been able to get into the building for the first series. And I mean, listen, this is when you win the President's Trophy, and you've got 4 home games, and your first round goes the distance. It is taxing in many ways, particularly to the pocketbook. And I have a feeling that a lot of people are realizing, they don't have the scratch to go to all of the games. So if you were sitting on tickets and you were thinking, okay, I'm going to go to this one and maybe I'll sell this other game, the Friday night game, if it's going to be late night, let it at least be with the Saturday the next day and you can sleep in and party and do all that. So I think there's a lot of people that took advantage of maybe some more reasonable ticket prices closer to the game and got in last night. And listen, they did bring a lot of energy. I mean, it certainly, in the crowd, it wasn't like it felt like a regular season game, far from it. But I just kind of thought, Remis, that the energy, and listen, Mikko Rantanen had a big part of it. I mean, with what he did in the second half of that second period with the hat trick, putting the team up. But then Mark Scheifele came back, scored. It was 3-2. I mean, very much in, but we were sort of just waiting for something else to happen. And credit to the Dallas Stars for, what they were able to do. I thought Jake Ottinger was brilliant. I already see discourse in the chat about the U.S. backup. I know Rennie talked about that last night on KNR. I mean, I'm all here for the fun chance, but I would say that timing is everything when it comes to those things. Much like, not chanting Binner or Jordan Binnington, taunting him when he hasn't let in a goal yet. I think maybe wait till the Jets are in a really good spot to really start giving it to those other guys. I'll always remember, when we talk about it, Eric Stahl, back early in the 2.0 era where like the fans just decided that they were going to boo the hell out of the best player on every single team. We all remember Stahl, who, the guy's from Thunder Bay, Canadian. There was no history with the Jets at all. He was getting booed, and he'd scored those 2 goals late in that game and let everybody know that he was hearing it all along. And sometimes there is an element of maybe not poking the bear, but regardless of the chance, Ottinger was brilliant. And I thought Connor Hellebuck had a real strong game as well. I mean, listen, a couple unfortunate bounces. You would have loved to have had Dylan Sandberg maybe be a little bit stronger on Rantanen or on that puck on the first goal. But Mikko Rantanen's an all-word player. Ask the Colorado Avalanche. That is going to happen at times. They're going to really need to focus on him, not just when he's out there on the top line, but also, as we mentioned with Pete DeBoer, double shifting him at times with stealing Dadonov on that fourth line, where in fact he did his damage last night at even strength.
Yeah, I thought Hellebuck came out solid. The goals that were scored against, one was a rebound where Rantanen used his big body to get to the front. One, he got to the front again using his body position and was able to tip just barely a Thomas Harley shot. And the other one was a centering pass to a wide open Rupe Hintz that went off Dylan Sandberg's skate. So Hellebuck made some big saves, especially early when the Jets were getting outshot.
Oh, yeah.
9-0. He really kept them in it. And it seemed like he was looking a lot like the Hellebuck that we saw in the regular season rather than the Hellebuck, on the road in St. Louis. And Jake Ottinger, very good. And he shut the door at the end of the game. I thought, we're having another Jets goal with the goalie pulled. Nice play. Nice play
that
from
was
Connor.
So close. I mean, that was a crazy fire drill in front of the net. And listen, I will fully admit that I think the Jets maybe used up a good portion of their good fortune at the end of Game 7 in round number 1. So maybe they didn't get a break in game number 1 or round 2, but they live to play another day, and that day will be tomorrow in a huge game against the Stars. We're going to get into this all with Steve Peters and Ken Wiebe as we come up. But I do want to hear from head coach Scott Arniel. Just before we do that, big thanks to our friends at Roley's Transfer. If you've got a move plan for you and your family coming up, why don't you lean on the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba? Family owned and operated in the Peg for over 60 years. Roley's Transfer. Head on over to Roley's.com and request an estimate. And make sure you put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and supplies. And you'll get a great quote, and you can get locked in for the white glove treatment and service that Roley's has been famous for, now into their 7th decade. If you're on the move, holler at Roley's Transfer, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. Request an estimate today and find out more at Roley's.com. Our friends at St. Vital Dental Center. There's a lot of white in there in general, but I can tell you, Dr. Terry and the entire crew all fired up like the rest of us about this Jets playoff run. And there's been a lot of cheesing and a lot of smiling of Jet fans lately. If you need to get that smile taken care of, lean on St. Vital Dental Center, who has been, taking care of generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans in the community for decades, and now has a beautiful new facility with free parking in the back at 167 St. Anne's. Checkups, cleanings, fillings, all the way to things like dental implants. They've got it all. Find out more and make an appointment. Tell them the boys at WST sent you. StVitalDental.ca. I was just checking the forecast. I think it might get to 32 on the weekend. Are you kidding me? We're really on the verge of having 2 of the nicest weekends, maybe of the summer, already in the books before May long weekend, which means it's a perfect time to head down to your local Manitoba liquor marts and get your hands on the new variety pack of Canadian Club ready-to-drink cocktails. It's a 12-pack on sale all month. 4 Canadian Club and ginger ales, 4 Canadian Club citrus smashes, and 4 CC half and halves, which is like the Arnold Palmer with Canadian whiskey. And of course, while you're there, thinking of the best in Canadian whiskey, the iconic, the original, the standard Canadian Club, also there. Pick it all up at your local Manitoba liquor marts. But while supplies last for May, the Canadian Club Pack is on sale. $27.99. Great deal this week, this month. And of course, Donnie and the gang at Manitoba Battery are fired up, reminding me, there's, Kenny Wiebe does his wake-up call. I'm giving all of you a wake-up call to stop overpaying for batteries and go to Manitoba Battery, your local option for all your battery needs. There is only one place to get the best price in town and great quality for the batteries you need, where you can save $50 a battery this spring by driving past the big box stores. And pop them by Manitoba Batteries for the batteries you need for campers and boats. Better service, great quality, and save a ton of money with Manitoba Battery, the only local specialist in Winnipeg with 2 locations, Logan Avenue and the new one on Dovercourt Drive in the south side. You can learn more at manitobabattery.com or give them a call, 204-783-8787. All right, we're going to have Steve Peters join us in just a couple of minutes. Do want to just get a couple clips in because we're going to be talking a lot about Mikko Rantanen. Needless to say, he is a problem. Ask the Colorado Avalanche and certainly the Winnipeg Jets. But it was interesting to see the way he was utilized last night with the double shifting and whatnot. Here's what Arnie had to say about the job that Adam Lowry did head-to-head against Rantanen in the Hintz line.
Yeah, that was Lowry's line, but he was on the 4th line when he scored both the goals 5-on-5. So, he did he used double shift on him, had him on with the steel line, and that's what he scored both goals. That Lowry line did a great job against when he was with Hintz. Other than our first, not so much them, but our first 8 or 9 minutes to the game. But at the end of the day, that's, he went to the net. He's a big man that got there with his stick, and he's just somebody that you always have to know when he's on the ice. And whenever we face elite players, you got to know where they are. And obviously, he's feeling it, coming off of Game 7, and we got to know when he's on the ice. He's a guy that you have to make sure that you especially tie up that stick of his.
All right, we'll be talking a lot about Mikko Rantanen in this show, that's for sure, and throughout the series, I'm sure. It was a bit of a slow start. Credit to the Jets for actually being up on the shot clock by the end of the first period, but here's what Arnie had to say about Dallas really carrying the play early on.
That was right out of the gate. I thought our detail, whether that was on face-off execution when we won draws, whether that was tape-to-tape passing, just execution. There was a lot of sloppiness to that game. That did not feel like a playoff game in Game 1 and Round 2. That felt like Game 45 in the middle of December. It obviously, we know the high that we were on coming off that St. Louis game, but man, this is the playoffs. That's a game that no matter how how you start the game or however you get into the game, it's one of those ones that there's a way we have to play as a group, and that's not how we played tonight.
Yeah, certainly need to crank it up and get back to where they were at home during the St. Louis series, and plenty of room for improvement on the road in round number 2 as opposed to what happened against the Blues. Here's what Arniel had to say about what happened in the second period when the Mikko Rantanen Hattie changed the game.
I thought we got better in the second half of the first period. Thought we took off a little bit in the second and got going, but it was still sloppy. That's not sloppy, just our execution. And the other thing too is that, when and I'm not harping back on the St. Louis, but we didn't have a lot of room to make plays, to hold on to pucks. Tonight we had time, and we didn't make the plays. We rushed ourselves, and I think we were thinking that that people were gonna come pouring over top of us, and we had more time to make plays and to execute. And I just felt that was probably the biggest thing. We weren't crisp that way.
Perplexed and a bit disappointed.
I'm disappointed, and the players are disappointed too. We know we just gave up home ice advantage, and it wasn't a game that they rolled over top of us for 3 periods. That was a game where we weren't at our best, and we should have been here, especially starting again another series at home and trying to get the upper hand by getting Game 1.
All right, there's Scott Arniel. Frustrated, but. Hey, there's a lot of hockey left to play, and I think what his team proved in Game 7 and throughout Round 1 and throughout this season is that they can move forward, see what they need to do better, and be better, and that's what they're going to have to do tomorrow night. Speaking of that, here's what Arnie had to say about how his team will respond.
This one's going to be easy. We're going to do some post-game on this. We'll look at it tomorrow, and just some areas that we have to be better at first with us. The areas with us where we have to be better, and then we'll look at what some of the things that Dallas did. Obviously it was different. We play different than Colorado does, so there's some things that they try to do. So there's areas that we need to exploit. I saw a lot of stuff tonight that that's going to be on the video for tomorrow.
2, 1. All right, we'll hear from Nino and a couple of the other players a little later on. Ken Wiebe coming up at the top of the hour. But our old pal Petey is about to join us. Steve Peters from the All City Network, ESPN, has a great YouTube channel that I think if you want to learn more about what's happening in the game, highly recommended. It's called Inside the Coach's Room. There is a link in the description of this video. I highly recommend you pop over there, give him a sub, and check it out. And of course, been an NHL video coach for 20 plus years. Steve Peters joins us now. Petey, great to have you back on WST here in the Peg. How you been keeping?
I'm good, Hustler. I tell you what, I love the playoffs, so all is good. And I tell you what, in the second round, it's much better for us that we're trying to watch these games. There's not 4 games on at the same time. So the second round, fantastic. It was a really good game in Winnipeg. And to the coach's point there, this was not their best when the puck dropped at the 20-minute mark of the first period.
Well, I mean, we kind of knew that there had to be some semblance of letdown, but I think we were wondering about both teams because, as has been well documented and we haven't stopped talking about since Sunday night, both teams had near-death experiences and pulled full Undertaker moves on the weekend to avoid being out in the first round.
Yeah, it's interesting when Winnipeg, and hey, you've got to admit it, you're down by 2 with 2 minutes to go against St. Louis Blues team that had protected leads prior to this. You go, okay, well, in all honesty, I know that the Jets fans are rooting for the Jets, but there's some basis of reality here going, gosh, we're not going to come back in this one. And to win the way they did is such a high and such an emotional high. And to say this for Dallas, who had a similar result in their game 7, Dallas travels. So Dallas gets on a plane the next day and gets away from it. They get away from their wives, their kids, their girlfriends, their families, brothers, dads, all that. They get away from it. And I think that their ability to get and check into a hotel in downtown Winnipeg, I think that helped. I think that helped focus them on the task at hand for the next day. And I think when you're in Winnipeg, what happens is all that outside noise of wow, look what we did. Look what we were able to accomplish in this game 7 against the St. Louis Blues. And it's hard for that not to bleed in because when you go to the rink the next day, the parking attendant guy, the security guy you walk past, everybody's like talking about that. And it's still in your mind whether you want it to be or not, where you talk about pushing out and focusing on Dallas. It's reality. And it's still there. And I think you really saw that in the first 10 minutes of this game where Winnipeg wasn't ready. And, it shot 9-1 to start this game. And I think Dallas had Winnipeg on their heels early. But they were back into it. By the end of the first period, shots were even. And then I think it became an even game. Other than one player that wore green that made the complete difference in this game. This is a very even hockey game. And they're 2 very even hockey teams.
Yeah, just not to, because, I mean, listen, we have talked nonstop about the Manitoba Miracle on Sunday, but I will get your just thoughts on the difference. And just what did you think of that series, which kind of dovetails into watching last night? I mean, it was a bloodbath. It was the most physical series I can remember in such a long time. And then we're at the building last night as things get going against Dallas, and we knew it wouldn't be the same. But, I mean, it didn't even resemble round 1. Just thoughts on how the Jets survived the challenge of the Blues, which took literally everything that they had and an extra couple periods.
Yeah, you look at the physicality in that round, and you look at the Dallas Stars right now. During the regular season, they're 31st in hits. I mean, Dallas does not win by beating you through the glass. Now, having said that, they have players that can play physical on the wall, and Jamie Benn can bring the physicality. We saw Mikko Rantanen bring the physicality. But hits in the first round, Dallas was last. They were 16th through the first round, where Winnipeg is second. So that physicality, you got to give the nod to the Winnipeg Jets. But the difference is the different styles of series. I mean, you go back and you watch every single goal the St. Louis Blues scored in this series. They do it by getting to the blue paint and getting in front of Connor Hellebuck. This is a team that went low to high in the zone, shots from the point, traffic tips, screens, rebounds, second chance opportunities. You watch Dallas. I don't know if they've got a defenseman other than Harley that can get it there. And I don't mean that he's unable to shoot, but offensively, it's Harley. Without Heiskanen in there, they don't have that multi-pronged threat from the back end to deliver pucks to the front. And I think that bodes well for Winnipeg. You're going to see this series not as physical and grinding and getting to the blue paint. I think this is going to be more of a speed who can get through the neutral zone without any trouble, who can get through the blue paint and the neutral zone without turning that puck over. I think this is going to be a more neutral zone battle than it is a net front crease battle.
Steve Peters with us, breaking down the game number 1 between the Jets and the Dallas Stars. Before we get to the Rantanen factor, You mentioned the start of the Dallas Stars, which I thought was really good, and the Jets were on their heels. Best part about that from a Winnipeg side of things, though, from my perspective, and we all talked about it in the concourse at the first intermission, it looked like Connor Hellebuck was back. That was not the Hellebuck that had some significant difficulties, as has been well documented, against the St. Louis Blues. And they really did kind of get back to their game, seemingly, in the second half of the first period. It's very clear when Winnipeg is on their game and spend most of the time in the other zone, not giving up very much. And Rantanen was the difference. But how did you see the back and forth between these two teams that, to be honest, I think both have a lot more to give and show as this series goes on?
Yeah, I think the big thing, you're right, to take away from that first period is how well Connor Hellebuck played in that first 10 minutes. Like, that was the difference. And there's a concern. There has to be a concern in Winnipeg to see which Connor Hellebuck shows up in this series. And I think getting through the first round and getting by the St. Louis Blues, I think for him it's a big weight off his shoulders. He said it, that now he can just go play. And I think you saw that. And when you go really look and dial down the goals in this game, there's one he'd probably like that back, because that one he thought he had frozen. But the tip shot, the one off the defenseman, look, those are difficult plays for Hellebuck. I thought he played extremely well. And I think that's another good sign for this Jets team. But you're right. They show that they can play Jets hockey, and meaning that you're seeing lines rolling. You're seeing the same kind of consistent effort on the puck and trying to get to the net and getting pucks and people to the net. I think there was a real offensive push, and honestly, it's led by Scheifele. Like, missing him in Game 7 was big. Getting him back, it not only helped you offensively, clearly, because of what he can provide, but he brings that grit, he brings that experience, and he brings that little extra element of that willpower and that drive that I think is going to be important for any team that wants to advance in this playoff. So I think Scheifele coming back, I think he did more for his team than Robertson coming back did for his team.
Well, I mean, listen, and that is part of, the lore of what happened on Sunday. How the hell the Jets did that without Mark Scheifele and without Josh Morrissey. And, it's credit to everyone that stepped up the way they did, but it's hard to imagine the Jets going on a long run without their number one center, and it certainly was nice to see him back, and obviously he got a goal. Well, let's go to, the man of not just last night, first ever player to go back-to-back hat tricks. He's got, 11 points in 3 games, 14-4, I think. Mikko Rantanen is a problem. And what's interesting, Petey, is like every time he got traded this year, it seemed like his team was about to play the Winnipeg Jets. I think the Jets played Rantanen 7 times. If I'm not mistaken, he only had 1 point in those games. That was the regular season. This is playoff Moose, and this guy is on a mission. I know you've broken down a lot of tape. What is he doing right now, and how big of a challenge is it for whoever is going up against 96 to keep him in check?
It's funny, because you talked about that first trade, and I again, if I'm Joe Sakic and Chris McFarland, I'm rolling in my, there's no grave yet, but they made a mistake. They didn't put up this player and give him an ultimatum, say either this or you're traded. He never got to hear that. And now Colorado's going to pay for that for years, because what you saw from Rantanen in Carolina and even in the regular season in Dallas, it was a guy that wasn't engaged. He wasn't, and people say, well, it takes him a while to learn the systems. I just don't think he was engaged in those games, because I think he wanted to be in Colorado. I think that's where he anticipated he was going to be. When the playoffs start, the realization starts to set in, going, hey, this is where I'm at. I better carry the load. And I think it was lucky for the Dallas Stars that he played Colorado in the first round. I think when he could look across the aisle and see Joe Sakic and he could see Chris McFarland, he goes, okay, you traded me? Giddy up. Let's go. And I think it was important for his mental state to get the Colorado Avalanche first. And now he's rolling. And his physical style of play, we talk about feeling it, but you look at the goals he gets against the Winnipeg Jets. And the first one he gets off of the second one, elbows Miller in the nose. Miller can't recover. Like, I think Miller's under stick on that play if he doesn't get bopped in the nose. And when you watch how close it is, how close Miller is to being under Rantanen's stick and be able to control his stick and tie it up on that tip goal, it's less than a second. And when you see Miller react to his nose and go down, it's 2 seconds. So I think that play doesn't happen if he doesn't get elbowed in the nose. I'm not talking about officiating. This is a tight physical series. Things happen. But it's those little differences. Then you get one kicked off the defenseman's stick. And then in the first one, like, Hellebuck thinks he's got it, for one. And then 2, he is being manhandled in the crease. Like, I don't know how else you're going to tie up Mikko Rantanen. And he just willed his way to getting that first goal, pushing up the defenseman and tapping that one in one-handed. He right now, he's the Conn Smythe winner through 8 games of this playoffs right now, and he is going to be a force to be reckoned with. Having said that, Coach Arniel said it. If they can get the matchup they want and they can get Lowry out there against Rantanen, they had a lot of success. They were much more physical. Lowry led the team in hits in game 1, and I think that can be a difference. You're going to have to find a way to deal with him once they get to Dallas, and you don't get the matchups that you want. And let's be honest, he's not going to score 4 points a night every night. Like, he's not. You cannot keep up that kind of a pace. So you hope that they can put the finger in the dike and put this one away just for a few games, ride the wave until he finally cools off.
Well, and the other thing that Scott Arniel mentioned, Petey, is that like the 2 goals he scored at even strength, he wasn't out with his regular line.
Yeah.
I mean, they're throwing him out with the 4th line. And I can't remember who it was I was listening to earlier today on the Fan Hockey Show, but when Rantanen came to Dallas, and even though he had to stop off in Carolina, he was used to playing with McKinnon, which means you are playing as much as any line in the National Hockey League. And Dallas runs 4 lines. They don't have those huge numbers of ice time. So DeBoer is saying, well, this guy's ready to do it. Throwing them out on that 4th line, I mean, what sort of challenge does that present for the Winnipeg Jets, knowing that, you've got your Lowry line set up to go against Hintz, and oh, wait a second, there's 96 again with the 4th line.
It poses a big problem, but when you get a player putting up those kind of minutes and extending himself and playing with 2 lines, a couple things can happen. One, it disjoints the other lines. Like, it's difficult to have a guy double shift consistently through several games, because it mixes up your line matchups. And we'll say it sometimes, I know in Arizona and then on into Utah, you see too many men on the ice penalties because it's difficult to manage a bench like that. Secondarily, you're looking at players getting tired. And you saw it with the LA Kings in the first round against the Edmonton Oilers, where they played 3 lines and they really got shortened the bench. And you did that by games 5, 6, and 7. They had no gas in the tank. So game 1, you've got through with a loss, understood. But Rantanen, I'm not sure he can keep up this kind of a pace, double shifting and playing that many minutes for a continued long series. So I think for Winnipeg, be physical on him when you can. And I don't mean be dirty. I mean be physical. Close on 96 every chance you get. A little bump into the wall every time you're near 96. You have to give him that. Again, tire you out, physicality over 5, 6, 7 games. That wears you down. So I do think the ability to defend him and stay stick length, Winnipeg's going to have everybody defend him. It's not going to be just Lowry. You go into Dallas, everybody's going to get a piece of Rantanen. You just have to make sure when he is on the ice, everyone is aware. And you do that against McDavid. You do that against Draisaitl. You're not used to doing that against somebody else. But right now you have to against Mikko Rantanen. Even when Winnipeg has the puck, you need to know when 96 is on the ice, you can stay above him.
You know what, Petey? I have to say that, listen, disappointing that they lost the game. And I thought Ottinger was really, really good. But when you look at, listen, we're talking about Rantanen, who basically won the game for them. This is far from a one-man show. I mean, they have arguably the best top 9 in the National Hockey League. Most of those other guys were pretty quiet. I mean, I do think there are some things that Winnipeg can look on and say, all right, we did that quite well. We need to do it a little bit better against 96. And then most importantly, have the puck a little bit more and spend a little bit more time creating the real quality shots that'll beat an elite goaltender like Otter.
Yeah, for sure. When you look across the score sheet of the Dallas Stars, they didn't have anybody above 3 shots. Lindell, Rupe Hintz had 3, and you talked about Rantanen had 5. They limited their best players to few opportunities from the inside. They really did. I thought Winnipeg did a great job of defending the net front and defending the blue paint. And one of the things we talked about is their defending without Morrissey and their ability to protect the blue paint and the area in front of Hellebuck. They had challenges against St. Louis. Even with a full lineup, they challenge. St. Louis gets to the paint hard. And they had difficulties there. But when you see guys, Hayden Fleury, DeMello, Pionk was phenomenal again. I think as a group of 6, I think they defended the net front extremely well. And I think you show that in limiting some of their better players like Jamie Benn, like Sagan, like Duchesne. They didn't get those interior chances that they're accustomed to. And I think, again, as this series wears on, if you can keep the depth scoring guys out of the score sheet, I think that's going to be incredibly important, because we saw in the first round with all of the series, it's the bottom 6 that become important, because the top end guys cancel themselves out eventually. And it's going to be somebody that comes down lower in the lineup that surprises somebody and makes it different in this series. So I do think Winnipeg's ability to defend those top players from the Stars aside from Mikko Rantanen, I think they were extremely strong in how they defended their top players against the Dallas Stars.
I mean, Arnie said today that there's going to be some extensive video work and whatnot. What do you think? I mean, you've been in these. I mean, no one better to talk to about video coach and video work on off days in a playoff series than you, Steve. Where do you think the focus is on the Winnipeg Jets? And give us a little idea about how that works. I mean, with the video coach, with the coaching staff, the guys might not be on the ice, but they're preparing for the game the next day.
Yeah, the one thing about the playoffs is this is the time where you focus on one team all the time. And I think it really brings video to the forefront because, hey, let's face it, games 45 through 48, you might play 3 different teams in 4 different nights. You don't have time. You just don't have – the game gets over, you're done. You don't evaluate that game anymore because you got to move on. You got to back-to-back. There's no time. This, you'll get into the minutia. And that's one of the reasons I love playoffs. And that's why I love playoff coaching and want to see coaches make adjustments. So you're going to look at face-offs in every zone and how that's going to affect a game. For Winnipeg, I think – we talked about their ability to defend the net front. And I think that was very important. And they limited the chances that Dallas was able to generate from the shots from the point. St. Louis led the playoffs in the first round with points by defensemen. And that's because they delivered the puck to the front of the net. I think they're going to look at their defensive zone coverage and how can they eliminate the other players around the front of the net, including Mikko Rantanen. How can they box out, be under sticks, and be better in front of Hellebuyck? Because if Hellebuck's seeing it in this round, I think he stops it. I think that's one. And two, we talk about those neutral zone turnovers and their ability to get the puck up the ice quickly. I think when Winnipeg moved the puck quickly from there and getting it through and over the blue line and moving through the blue line quickly, this Winnipeg team looked incredibly quick. And I think Dallas is a team known to play with pace, especially with Roope Hintz, and you get that speed game. I think Winnipeg can win the speed game here. I do, because I think they're deeper. So I think if I'm Winnipeg, I'm looking, how am I getting out of my zone quick and clean with possession so that I can go against try to create some odd man rush opportunities in behind the Dallas Stars defense. And I definitely want to shore up my defensive zone coverage. But the last thing I want to spend a lot of time at on video today, power play. Best power play in the regular season.
Just about to bring that up with you.
Best power play in the regular season. And watch how Dallas defended this power play. Like, you're licking your chops if you're Ehlers. Like, how many chances did Ehlers have driving the net from the goal line all alone? Like, I think he thought somebody's going to hit me here. Somebody's going to finally challenge me. And nobody did. Like, he was face-to-face with Onger 3 times. I think those are the best chances the Winnipeg Jets had to take a forward step in this series was on the power play. So I do think there's going to be a lot of power play video. But having said that, Dallas is going to watch that too. And I would anticipate Dallas is going to have that lower defenseman pull a little bit deeper so they can get a stick at least on Ehlers. You can only guard so many things. And they're so concerned about the flanks with Connor and Scheifele that you're going to give up that low play to Ehlers. But you've got to be able to get a stick on him quicker. They're going to have to be able to cover that. Because if I'm Winnipeg, I'm going to pull my flanks up even higher. I'm going to pull Scheifele and Connor up higher in the zone, even closer to the top of the circle. See if I can pull those defenders out even a little bit more, give Ehlers a little bit more space and Velarde a little more space down low. And now we're doing 2-on-1 with Velarde and Ehlers with a net front defenseman. Man, I like that matchup if I'm Winnipeg. So I would expect them to be even more aggressive down low in game 2 on the power play.
Just on the power play, and listen, part of your examples of what Ehlers I think are very astute. And I'm not sure whether Arniel was focusing particularly on that or the game overall. But he said, the St. Louis was so relentless with their forecheck, with their hitting. You did not have the puck on your stick for half a second before something was happening. And that wasn't the case yesterday. And he sort of said the players didn't seem like they understood or realized they had as much time as they did and sort of rushed some things that didn't have to be. Did you see the same thing?
Yeah, and I think that was on the power play evident too, because how aggressive St. Louis was, but it's absolutely like that 5-on-5. And we talked about Dallas being 16th in hits. Like, the hits were in favor of Winnipeg almost 2-1 in this game, like 46-24. Like, it wasn't literally not even close to the number of hits. And that's below Dallas's normal average hits, which is 27 in this place. So yeah, the physicality is a difference, and you don't have time and space. And especially when you're those players that are used to carrying the puck and managing the puck, like a Kyle Connor, and you're used to in the regular season, you have more time. You just do. The hitting is almost doubled in the playoffs. Why? Because that's the way the playoffs are. And so Kyle Connor he played 7 games of tight checking, no room, had to move the puck quickly, didn't have the time and space that he's familiar with in games 1 through 82. Now he has it. So yeah, there's an adjustment period. And I do think you're going to see the top players from Winnipeg thriving in that atmosphere a little bit more as this series continues, having that time and space. And with Scheifele, and I think he was so successful because Scheifele did the things he does, meaning he still continued to drive the net, and he just played that little grittier style. And I think the guys that have that little more freelance, offensive, high skill hands guys, I think it might take them that first game to go, oh my goodness, I've got some room. The one worry, Andrew, and the concern is you wish you had Josh Morrissey to feed the puck at the blue line. I think that would really help offensively to help open up some space for them on the power play, certainly. And 5-on-5, just get a little bit more of that offensive boost that Morrissey's going to bring. And then that's a serious scoring threat from the top. So Dallas, you can't leave him unprotected. They're going to have to get in shooting lanes, get stick on puck on Morrissey, which again is going to open up more space underneath. And I'm not sure. I don't follow the injuries there, so I don't know how close his timetable is. But he's a player that they're going to need if they want to continue on in this playoffs into the next round.
Well, it was positive that he was in the full contact jersey yesterday, but wasn't playing. I mean, the sooner Josh gets back, the better. But as you mentioned, I mean, man, Neil Pionk, legend mode in game number 7, and he was an absolute force again last night, and certainly earning the confidence that they gave to him with that contract extension a month ago or so.
Yeah, I think what we said about the defense there, you're not going to win the Stanley Cup without having a solid defensive core. You're not. You can't. You need to be able to defend. I'm a big believer in defense comes first. You watch Florida Panthers win the Cup last year. It's because they have tight gaps in the neutral zone. They have defensemen that were mobile enough to move through the blue lines, that could move the puck up quickly and defended really well with sticks. You don't need I know they have Ekblad, but you don't have that. You don't need Forsling isn't a big, strong, tough guy in front of the net. You need the guys that can move and have good sticks. And I think Pionk is exactly what you need to have a successful D-core. And just think how much more valuable he's going to be when Morrissey gets in the lineup. I thought the defensive core for the Winnipeg Jets was solid last night. I think it was an area that you get concerned about with Winnipeg maybe earlier in the year, but this core of defensemen, even with injuries, I thought they defended the Dallas Stars extremely well from the blue line in.
Hey, Petey, I want to ask you about Cole Perfetti, because I know you break down the, and this is not just new. I mean, you've been following, the National Hockey League and these teams. Last year at this point, Cole Perfetti had a tough time being in the lineup. We saw an increased level of fight aptitude in these board battles, and I think clearly, I mean, speaking of legends, I mean, no one will ever forget what he did on Sunday night. When it comes to the difference that is playoff hockey, just from what you've seen, how much more ready is Cole? And what have you seen as a transformation from a young man that, was a little overmatched early on in his career to a guy that seems to be hanging with the best of them and being a big-time difference maker?
Yeah, I think with Cole Perfetti, his ability to find those couple of things, his ability to find areas from the top of the circles down where he can actually get a shot off and find those quiet areas. I think he's become more adept and more skilled at that, whether that's pushing off a defenseman or being able to sneak in behind a defenseman to find those open areas. But secondarily, it's his ability and confidence to be able to approach and drive the net and get closer to the blue paint, because I think that as a young player is the most difficult thing to do and or learn, is to be aggressive and be able to get into those areas where you don't want to play, because it's not easy. And you don't need to be those guys that are 6'2", 6'4", like Rantanen, to get into those areas, be difficult. Why Johnston's a great example of a player that's able to find the puck, but the puck finds him too. And I think that's what happening with Cole Perfetti. The puck finds him because he gets to the places that are open where he's not being defended, because he's got that IQ now, and not just the IQ, but the desire and the drive to find those areas and to get to those difficult areas. I'm curious to see, and we talked about guys that are going to take a step forward and be the important players to win a Stanley Cup. It always happens. There's somebody. Mark Scheifele is a great player. Kyle Connor's a great player, and they're going to do great things. But who's that secondary layer? Who's that next layer? The next guy that's going to be the guy? Gosh, did you see that series this guy had? Cole Perfetti's absolutely one of the guys that can do that. But again, it's his motor and his ability to have that motor running all the time. He's the guy that's ideal for the playoffs. And I think he's the guy that's going to provide second scoring. And he's going to be a guy that makes a difference in this series if Winnipeg is going to get through it.
Looks like he's gone to the Sidney Crosby school of tipping pucks too. I mean, those two. I mean, the first one on Sunday was just unbelievable. Hey, before we go, we've got game 2 tonight between Oilers and Vegas. I mean, this Oilers run has been ridiculous. They probably should have been out in 4 or 5 games.
Yes.
And yet here they are. How much of a pickle is Vegas in after losing that first game, and Edmonton seemed to be playing with a ton of confidence and not relying on McDavid and Draisaitl to do everything?
See, here's where how big of a hockey genius I am. In every single round last season, I had Edmonton losing. Every single one. And yet they found a way to win. Their Western Conference Finals against Dallas. I said Dallas was going to roll them, and they didn't. I said Florida's going to roll them. They went to Game 7. There's something about the Edmonton Oilers and their top players. The one thing about the Edmonton Oilers this year is they're much deeper than they were a season ago. I think their bottom 6 forwards can make a difference in this series, and I think I'm surprised at the way their goaltending is going right now. I don't think Calvin Pickard can last forever, but Vegas right now losing that game at home. They weren't the Vegas Golden Knights. I thought they were slow. I didn't think they drove to the net. I didn't think they get any offensive opportunities. I thought they let the Edmonton Oilers roll all over them. And that surprised me because Vegas hasn't played like that, especially at home in this season. It's going to be a long series. I think Vegas will bounce back tonight and be a better version of themselves. But I don't know if they're going to be able to stop the Edmonton Oilers right now. They're confident. It's a confident group that's deep right now, and they believe in what they're doing. I still think Vegas wins this one in 7, but who knows? Never bet against the Oilers.
Petey, this has been so much fun. We got to do this again during the playoffs.
Absolutely.
If you got some time. Fill people in on the YouTube channel and what you're cooking up for hockey fans to really dive into what's happening in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Well, it's fun. I like teaching people a game. That's what I do. I watch it on TV and I tell you what happened. I have no bias on any teams. Don't work for a team. Don't coach a team. So as soon as this is done, I'm almost done with the Winnipeg Jets Dallas game 1. I'm going to look at every goal. What happened? All the little nuances and things that you saw behind the play, just on inside the coach's room on YouTube. And I'm doing it for most games. Can't do all because it's just too much going on in the league. But if you don't know the game and you want to learn the game more, or if you do know the game and you want to see little things you might be able to use, check it out. Because honestly, I'm just trying to help people understand a game that happens incredibly fast. You don't see it on TV because they have 30 seconds to break it down. I'll spend 2 or 3 minutes on one goal. So I hope people check it out and watch what happened to the Winnipeg Jets in Game 1.
Well, hopefully we'll have some more moments like Sunday to deliver to inside the coach's room. The breakdown of that goal was an all-timer. I mean,
it's great, unbelievable. And again, it just when you watch Rick Bowness on the bench, and I worked for Rick Bowness. I love and highly respect Rick Bowness. When you saw him and his confidence in this team that they're going to come back, they have the people in that room. That's when you start to believe. Like he has nothing but good things to say about what this room is like. And if you want to win, you need to have that unity inside the locker room and everybody pulling on the same rope. And I'm telling you, the Winnipeg Jets have that. And that does make a difference. You can't do it all the time. Like there are teams that are going to be better. So I'm not saying every team that's tight wins a Stanley Cup, but I'm saying teams that are tight have the opportunity to do great things.
Well, and they certainly did. And listen, Bones was the catalyst of the culture change that was so needed here, and we're seeing the results of it still to this day. Petey, we'll holler at you soon and get you back on. Appreciate your time, pal.
Yeah, thanks. It's a lot of fun, Hustler. We'll see you real soon.
You bet. There's Steve Peters. Great to have him on the program again, inside the coach's room over on YouTube. Give him a sub and check out all the great content that he is cranking out. Hey, got to give a shout out to Sean, our pal over at Let's Do It Travel. It was funny for the St. Louis series. I know he did a piece for fans that might be thinking about heading down to St. Louis for just some great deals and great ideas about where you might want to stay and some of the top hotels. Might have to lean on him for a couple rooms in Dallas now that I'm thinking about it. Of course, when it comes to travel, especially things like a destination wedding or you got that 1 week of holidays you're going to use for an all-inclusive. You want to make sure that you're making a great choice and stretching your travel dollar as far as possible. And that is what Let's Do It Travel will do for you. Give them a follow on Instagram at Let's Do It Travel WPG and check out the website at letsdoittravel.com and get in touch with Sean if you're thinking about maybe getting some professional advice. And the best part about it is for WST listeners, you let them know WST sent you, and they will waive all the booking fees. But listen, your time is valuable, and you've only got so much money to spend. Make the best choices and get the best deals with Let's Do It Travel. Again, Let's Do It Travel WPG on Insta. Give them a follow there. Great stuff coming out on the social feeds all along. And letsdoittravel.com for more information on that. Matt, it was great to see so many folks at the game last night. A lot of people that were making it out for their first game. The costumes still continue to be amazing. Friday night is going to be insane. If you haven't already picked up that Whiteout Mania sign at your local Princess Auto, I would suggest you do that. And they're still taking submissions at winnipegjets.com/whiteoutmania for the best of Winnipeg Jets fandom right now to win playoff tickets to the Whiteout at Canada Life Center. Of course, Princess Auto, proud sponsor of the Jets, proud sponsor of WST, founded and headquartered in Winnipeg. 3 locations in Manitoba, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, and Brandon for you Jet fans out in the west side of the province. You can always shop online 24/7 at princessauto.ca. Our friends at Aikens Lake are ready for the upcoming fishing season, and I cannot wait to get out there. Gang, if you're thinking about maybe changing it up this year and keeping it north of the border, why not keep it within Manitoba with a world-class fly-in fishing lodge that you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg? It's just that easy. Get on Aikens Lake is the spot with world-class fishing and even more world-class hospitality from the Terrence family and the Aikens team. Go to aikenslake.com for more information on everything available at Aikens this summer and fishing availability for the 2025 fishing season. And for more on the Aikens experience, follow them on all their social channels at Aikens Lake. And a shout out to the fellas over at F Apparel. They are ready for wedding season, for grad season. Guys, if you need to step up your menswear game, there's only one place in town to go. That is F Apparel, 190 Smith Street. Custom suits, chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, the best selection of menswear accessories around. Of course, if you are in a wedding party, make sure to talk to the guys at F about a special discount when the fellas in the wedding party get their suits for the big day at F. And if you got a 2025 grad in the family, free custom shirt and tie with the purchase of any suit for 2025 grads. 190 Smith Street is where you'll find them. Find out more on all these great deals and make an appointment to come in for a fitting online at that's EPH apparel.com. All right, great stuff with Steve Peters. Kenny's going to join us in a couple minutes, but let's get back to the room after last night's game. And Nino Niederreiter spoke. He, of course, got the Jets on the board and up 1-0 in that second period. But Nino reflected on a iffy start for the Winnipeg Jets last night after the game.
Obviously, had a great start, and that's something we need to get better at. Our start was, once again, not very good, and that's something we know we got to do better. And I mean, it's a complete different series than the St. Louis one. They're obviously a very experienced team. They know how to be in the tight game. They're extremely patient, and that's something we got to learn from.
Yeah, you said once again there, so it's not the first time at the start, but you guys had the foot on the gas at the end there. I guess if you knew the answer, you'd say it, but what can you do to improve the start there?
I wish I could give you a better answer, but I mean, we need to be just sharper. We need to be better. We need to be better on details. And as cliche as it sounds, but I mean, our overall game wasn't good enough.
There's Nino on the start now. I think, and it really did feel like there was a bit of a collective hangover for the entire city from Sunday going into last night's game. Nino was asked if there's a bit of a hangover for the team from the emotional high of that incredible Game 7 double overtime win.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, obviously it was very emotional, but at the same time it was very emotional for them as well. And obviously it was great moving on, but it's a whole nother different series and we got to do it all over again.
How much different did this game feel compared to the St. Louis series?
I mean, it's definitely less physical as of right now, but obviously, I mean, we know we got to put that aspect in our game to make sure it's going to make it harder than them. They're extremely skilled, and that's something which we got to be better at.
Maybe you guys have to be the ones that lead that charge this time, as opposed to St. Louis leading it last time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, they're extremely skilled throughout the whole lineup, and we know we got to outwork them, we got to outbattle them, and I think they won most of the battles tonight as well.
All right, there's Nino Niederreiter. Kenny's going to join us in just a minute. Let's hear just a little bit of Mark Scheifele as well. And listen, big boost to the lineup to get him back. Here's Scheifele returning to the lineup, having to watch Game 7 and getting back in Game 1.
Yeah, just, a lot of treatment and, some rest and, happy to be back out there.
What was it like to obviously not be a part of those Game 6 and 7?
Yeah, it was awful. It's a feeling you don't wish on anyone, and it was tough to watch. But you're obviously just uber proud of the boys for that Game 7 comeback and win. To make sure that my season wasn't ended, that was amazing by them, and now we're moved on to the series.
And what did you think about tonight's game overall for your team?
Yeah, I don't think we really found it until the third period. Obviously it wasn't a great start, so obviously we have some things that we can do better. But we didn't play great and we were right in it. So there's positives they got to take out of it, and from there, move on to the next one.
All right, there's Mark Scheifele, and here's one more on Scheifele on the problem that is Mikko Rantanen and that wild scramble at the end of the game that nearly tied it up at 3.
Yeah, he's absolutely fantastic player. Big, strong, does a lot of really, really good things out there. He's obviously a phenomenal player, and when you take away his time and space, it makes it harder. But obviously he's a fantastic player and a guy we got to watch out for.
I know there's a big pile up there, but what did you see at that end play where I think Lindell gets a foot on it?
Yeah, I didn't really see. I was kind of over to the side. So that, obviously it's just kind of sitting there. I think Gabe tried to get a stick on it and kind of got tied up. Nicky tried to get a stick on it, and they just beat us to it, and it was obviously right there.
All right, there's Mark Scheifele, a little bit down after the Game 1 loss, but certainly thankful that there was a Game 1 to be played, and his season wasn't over, missing the rest of the Game 6 and, of course, Game number 7. Ken Wiebe's ready to roll, so let's get to it. This segment brought to you by your Prairie Toyota dealers, who all want to remind you to get in and go with the Toyota Tundra. Quality that means it has the strength to take on any challenge, off-road or hauling a heavy load, and backed by the peace of mind knowing it's a Toyota. So take the road less traveled in comfort, room for teammates, friends, and gear. Can we talk about just how good this truck looks too? Anywhere the Toyota Tundra goes, it is turning heads. From $154 weekly for 60 months at 5.19% APR with $66.99 down. Hybrid also available. Visit shoptoyota.ca. Let's bring Ken Wiebe in for his weekly visit on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Wiebe, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Andrew, great to be with you. After the Scott Arniel availability, we snuck over into the check-in area. So I'm checking in here, but probably means I'm going to owe JT and Sarah another check-in visit for this series. So we thank them for the use of the studio here, just with everyone doing their transcribing in the press room. Just wanted a little quieter area to catch up on the game itself. Huss, a lot has happened since we spoke last, and I know you've taken care of the majority of that already, but quite a scene on Sunday in Winnipeg. And when a team has the eyeballs of the entire hockey fandom base around the world, it was quite a scene. And Dylan DeMello was just at the podium. His father-in-law's first whiteout experience happened to be on Sunday night. And he said, I hope he gets another one like that, but going to be tough to top. No doubt about that.
No kidding. Hey, let me just quickly ask you, because again, we got to get to tonight.
Sure.
We haven't spoken since Sunday. I mean, I always remember, traveling with Gary when he'd be writing for the Freep, and a game would turn at the end and you'd be like, oh my God, everything that you just did. Did you have the obituary completely written at that point? I mean, take us through the work role of Ken Wiebe as we saw the most incredible comeback we've ever seen.
Yeah, quite a few jokes about the subject here. And I can appreciate Dylan DeMello did ask me about that the other day. I said it wasn't completely written, Dylan, but it was half written. The lead of "It was supposed to be different this year" had been written, Huss. But as Dylan mentioned to me, I guess that one didn't quite make it to the editor's copy, and he was right. Just for folks who don't know, I mean, even with the benefit of a 6 p.m. start, Huss, with the deadline situation and scenarios we're working with, Mike and I, for the Free Press, you have no choice. This is the Stephen Wino rule, Huss. You have to have 2 stories going. Obviously, there's filling in the blanks that has to happen based on the end result, but when the game goes into double overtime, you don't have the luxury of time to let things unfold in front of you. So you're doing the best you can with running copy. But Huss, when it's a game 7 and it's either the season is over for the Jets or the season extends, the stakes are quite a bit higher for those kind of stories as well. So, Mike did the game story and I did a little sort of more of a big picture piece. But yes, I mean, the reality is there was a half obituary written and there was about a 3/4 rallying story written. And, by the time the puck went in from Pionk off of Lowry and into the back of the net, then there's about a 10 to 12 minute window for hair on fire typing. And that completes either the obituary or in this case, it is the miraculous, Manitoba miracle or whatever people want to be calling it. And Huss, I mean, this. I was in the building for the Minnesota miracle, the Diggs touchdown, unbelievable from Keenum in the playoff game against the Saints. I was in the seats for the Bautista bat flip special. But, even though those were two pretty big moments in sports, I'd never witnessed anything like 2 6-on-5 goals in the last 150 and change. And then a double overtime winner. I mean, it was a remarkable scene. And, we say this all the time. It's moments like that, when you're literally chronicling history, the latest tying goal in a game 7 in NHL history. I mean, like, these are cool moments to be able to have the written word and the oral word to describe those scenes like you've been doing throughout the course of the week, Huss. I mean, it's a pretty cool part of the job.
Well, it is. And I mean, it just speaks to how incredible that entire game and the comeback was, in that I guarantee it's the only game 7 double overtime goal in NHL history that is not the central focus of that game. I mean, when people think about the goal in that game, it's not the winner.
It's Perfetti, right?
It's called Perfetti's, and
wild.
I mean, listen. But that being said, I mean, like so many have just been on this collective high that I think this entire community has been on since Sunday.
Sure,
it did feel like there was a bit of a collective hangover for everyone, and certainly the team kind of coming out of the gate last night, and a game that Scott Arniel said sure didn't feel anything like what we saw in round 1 against the St. Louis Blues. I mean, just thoughts on the different feeling and the energy with the team and in that game in the first of this best of 7 against Dallas.
Yeah, so there definitely was a bit of a feeling out process, whereas what we saw in game 1 of round 1 is we saw the St. Louis Blues come with reckless abandon and try to run every single Jet that touched the puck through the end boards. So I do think there was a little bit of an effect of that series. But Huss, I mean, the other part of it too, I watched all of game 7 of the Stars Avalanche game as well. So saw the entire Mikko Rantanen scene unfolding the day, a couple days before, with his mastery there, and even watched the crazy second period again in game 6 where he had a 4-pointer as well. So, I mean, I do think there was a feeling out process. I do think it was a fairly evenly played game. Yes, I know the Jets felt there were some self-inflicted wounds, and there were. But the Stars also had some self-inflicted wounds. I would say that you had two teams with such an emotionally charged atmosphere in Game 7. I do think, and hey, everyone is saying it, and it's no excuse, and Scott Arniel just said at the podium, Huss, you're not letting your team off the hook, knowing that the other team that you just played had, almost an equally wild finish. No, it wasn't 2 in the last 2 minutes, but it was a 2-0 deficit in the third period as well. So he just didn't think the execution was strong enough. I mean, for the majority of the game, I thought it was even, Huss. I mean, it's something as simple as this. To me, it boils down to, and it's not only this, but in a series that is this tightly contested between two excellent teams, two legit Stanley Cup contenders, the special teams battle is 1-0 Dallas. They were 1 for 2. The Jets were 0 for 4. And Huss, in a game that's that tight, that is the difference in the game. Now, having said that, it's also a 1-goal game because Mark Scheifele is robbed in a chaotic scramble in front of the net, and Gabe Vilardi can't get a full handle on it, and Esa Lindell stops the push that is heading to the back of the net with his left skate. So we just about had another 6-on-5 goal to chronicle for the Winnipeg Jets with Hellebuyck on the bench in favor of an extra attacker. But having said all that, yes, it was 8-0 in shots, and no, the Jets were not crisp enough. But I think there were only really one or two high dangers in there, Huss. One was the Rantanen chance at the side of the net, which precluded his ridiculous second period where he was kind of a one-man wrecking ball. But overall, a lot of pieces of the Jets game were sound, even though the execution wasn't there. Now, having said all that, the Dallas Stars also didn't get much from Roope Hintz. They didn't get much from Wyatt Johnston. They got almost nothing from the Ben Sagan-Duchesne line, except a turnover that opened the door for the Jets to make it a one-goal game. And I don't think if you're the Jets, you can count on all of those things happening again in game 2. Jake Ottinger was very good for the Dallas Stars, 30 saves. But if you're the Jets, Huss, I would say the most encouraging thing, and it's what we expected based on what we saw in the last 54 minutes and change from Connor Hellebuyck in Game 7. But Connor Hellebuyck is back to being himself. And I understand some of the national narrative is, oh, well, Hellebuyck lost a game at home. Well, now the Jets are screwed. I mean, I'm sorry. Connor Hellebuyck is not a home road splits. Like, he's not a pitcher at Coors Field.
These people haven't watched the Jets all season.
This is not the Colorado Rockies pitching staff here. This is not. There's no humidor required when Hellebuyck goes on the road. Yes, it was poor for him in St. Louis, and he got yanked 3 times. He's not going to be yanked 3 times in Dallas if this is a 7-game series. He looked like himself. It took basically extraordinary goals or plays to beat him. One really good tip, one incredible second effort by Mikko Rantanen to dive headlong, to push the puck into the net, to win his battle, and then to complete the hat trick. I mean, it's just a good play by Rantanen, right? I mean, this is a guy this is a top 10, 5 to 10 player in the NHL. So, but at the same time, it's not like he was going McDavid out there. He basically had the puck for his stick only for a couple of seconds, but I thought his ability to win board battles and be strong with the puck was very evident. But at the same time, Huss, as Scott Arniel pointed out so deftly after the game, Rantanen's even strength goals came with Sam Steele and Evgeny Dodonov. They did not come with Roope Hintz on the top line. So Adam Lowry's line did his job in the shutdown capacity. If you looked at the score sheet and said, oh, Rantanen had a hat trick, must have been a rough goal for the Lowry line, that wasn't actually accurate. The Lowry line, they want more offensive zone time, so they make Rantanen check, but they had a goal at 5-on-5 that I think that came against that line as well. So it was on a line change, I guess. But anyways, I also think that a lot of the Jets individually could have played better, Huss. We did not see the same cohesion with the lines, which is why Scott Arniel mixed, flip-flop, Niederreiter and Nikolai
Let's get to that. That was actually something that I did want to ask you about. And just if people maybe, just notice, we did see mid-game Nikolai Ehlers move to the Lowry line and, Niederreiter go into Ehlers' spot. What do you think predicated that, and how did you think that worked out?
I liked a lot of it, Huss. And here's the thing. Ehlers' legs are coming back. You can tell. He's moving better. He's more involved. But the last thing to come back, usually when you're coming back from injury, are your hands. Yeah. And Ehlers has incredible hands, but his touches have not been as
clean.
Sure, let's use the word clean. And Huss, if they were clean, we may not be talking about a Cole Perfetti, Cole Crosby redirection.
You're right.
Based on the Clap City that went about 10 feet forward and then came right back to him, and then he made one of the best passes you'll ever see. But the thing with Ehlers, involvement, he's very involved. He's using his body. We know the narrative around Ehlers. The numbers in the postseason have not matched the numbers in the regular season. It has never been from a lack of effort. But Huss, I see in Nikolai Ehlers a determined player. I see a player who is on the verge of a breakthrough offensively. Even in the Game 7, even though he had such an impactful play on the tying goal, he didn't look like himself in that game either. And it's tough to look like yourself when you're playing your second game in a while and you just get airdropped into a series that is, one of the most physical we'll ever see. But I do see progress with Ehlers. It just wasn't quite as tight as it was at times in Game 7 where that Perfetti, Nemesnikov line and Ehlers were reunited. You know my feelings about Ehlers. I like Ehlers with Lowry at various points. It's also because I like Nino Niederreiter's net front presence to help Nemesnikov and Perfetti. But there's chemistry with Lowry and Ehlers. It's obviously a different game. But Adam can create a little bit more space for Ehlers to get the magic marker going out there, right? He likes to draw outside the lines offensively on occasion. But I did think that there were some really good shifts for that line with Appleton. Again, we know the Jets are a 4-line team, and Alex Iafallo got some shifts, even though the Jets basically went down to 3 lines at times. But I liked what I saw from Ehlers. Again, I don't know what we're going to see. It was an heavy optional today. See what the morning skate brings, but it won't surprise me if we see a little bit more of Ehlers with Lowry. And also, too, the benefit with Ehlers on that line, even though, again, I love the identity line, and I think it was a smart move to put them together to start the series, and they may stay together, Huss. But given the speed that Rope Hintz plays with, sometimes Ehlers can combat that speed, maybe in a little different manner than Nino Niederreiter would. So, but I also like Niederreiter's game, sneaky backhand to get the scoring going for the Jets. I liked a lot about his game, but again, I think there's something there with Perfetti also that can kind of unlock a few things for both of those lines, if that is how they start. And again, this is a kind of series where you're going to maybe see a little bit more, that matching. I mean, I think Pete DeBoer is a guy who, good job on the matches. Oscar Back is a guy who killed a lot of penalties, and because the Jets had 4 power plays, that opened the door for Rantanen to go out with Sam Steele and Dodonov on those, several occasions, 2 of which led to offense for the Dallas Stars. But for me, I don't think the Jets did a good enough job on the forecheck of disrupting. Cody Ceci played in Game 7 last year for Edmonton. He's an experienced guy. He's being asked to do a lot right now with Miro Heiskanen out. Alex Petrovic is a great story, Huss, but he spent the majority of the last 2 years in the American League with the Texas Stars. So if you're a team like the Jets that can forecheck ferociously, you need to get on those 2 guys on the right side and Ilya Lyubushkin as well. I mean, Lyubushkin is a guy who plays incredibly hard. He's a physical guy. He had 1 rough game in the last series where he was on for 5 even strength goals against. I just didn't think that the Jets did a good enough job of being disruptive. It's a way different series on the forecheck. But Jordan Binnington is not playing the puck for the Dallas Stars. Jake Ottinger is far less active behind the goal line compared to Binnington. That will open up opportunities for the Jets forecheck to create turnovers, to create zone time, and to create all those churning shifts that allow the Jets to turn the tables in a series where they had a slow start. Huss, yesterday's a great example. The Lowry line in the first period, when it was 8-0, had a churning shift, and all of a sudden the Scheifele line comes over the boards. Gabe Vilardi finds Kyle Connor, and it was nearly a 1-0 game, even though the first 8 to 9 minutes were almost all played in the Jets zone, it felt like. So I liked what I'm seeing from Gabe Vilardi. He's coming along on the road back from recovery. Kyle Connor was dangerous again yesterday, and Huss, Mark Scheifele was the most dangerous player on the ice for either team. So outside of Mikko Rantanen, 7 shots on net, 8 shot attempts, and hey, I get it. I got a few DMs today. Oh, Scheifele turned the puck over a couple times. Big deal. None of those turnovers were really costly. He was the most dangerous Jet offensively. Mark himself felt like he didn't really find his game till the 3rd. So to me, that's a scary proposition for the opponent. But you can also argue the same thing applies to Jason Robertson, who did not have an impactful Game 1 as he made his 2025 playoff debut coming back from his own knee injury. Only just under 14 minutes. He was not as, effective and, noticeable as we're used to seeing. So I think if you're both coaches, Huss, you're here thinking we've got more to give. And that's no disrespect to either team, but both teams feel like they didn't quite squeeze all of the juice out of the orange in Game 1, I think. And that's why the Dallas Stars are probably, like the Jets are saying, we've got another level to reach. The Stars are saying, well, some parts of the blueprint were pretty effective, but they didn't have their A-plus game either. And Huss, when both teams have the A-plus game, then you got to do the little things in order to push you over the top if you want to win the game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Wiebe, just as far as the blue line goes, loved Pionk's game again last night. I thought he followed up Sunday with a really strong game. Hayden Fleury, again, is showing that he is certainly capable of being it. And this is my question for you. This is such a different challenge and different opponent than the St. Louis Blues. Now, listen, Logan Stanley's out anyways right now, but he had really been a pretty constant part of the top six when he was healthy. With the different opponent and what Dallas does, if the Jets have a full complement of defensemen, Josh Morrissey comes back, is Fleury still in? Or is Stanley back in when he gets healthy to kind of help maybe negate the power and presence of Rantanen? I mean, how do you see that shaking out if the Jets are in the situation where everyone was good to go?
Yeah, just quickly on that, Josh Morrissey and Logan Stanley were among the Black Aces skating today. Scott Arniel was, encouraged by that. It's everyone's going to be a game time decision here moving forward, but I do expect Morrissey to play in game 2, Huss. That's my gut feeling.
Oh, I like it.
We're doing our best on the educated guess department. Logan Stanley, without really knowing the nature of the injury, it's kind of unclear for me. But to directly answer your question, I thought that Fleury was fantastic again in game 2, 17 minutes and change. His stretch pass on the Niederreiter goal was very heads up. There was recognition that the line change was in progress. He used his feet to open up a seam for him, and then he made a very crispy pass up to Mason Appleton. And Huss, for the folks who just enjoyed the backhand, go back and watch the play, Huss. I know that your chat room is filled with people that are put Mason Appleton on the fourth line takes, even though he has 7 assists in this playoff so far in 8 games and is one of the most productive Jets so far. Huss, tell those people to look at the play Mason Appleton makes. First, the pass through the legs of Thomas Harley to get it to Niederreiter. And then secondly, watch the subtle play that Appleton makes to impact Thomas Harley's ability to sweep his stick around to try to knock the puck off Niederreiter's skate. This is high-level stuff here. It's not as readily apparent in real time. But if you slow it down, watch Appleton's stick. He puts it in a place that prevents Harley from doing the stick swing sweeping play that may have not even allowed a scoring chance to begin with. And it's not an easy play to get the puck through the 5-hole of a guy like Thomas Harley, Huss. Thomas Harley was exceptional in game 1 for the Dallas Stars. Pete DeBoer told me yesterday morning when I asked him about it, about his explosive play out of the Four Nations. DeBoer said, we're not playing in the second round without Thomas Harley taking this massive step forward coming out of Four Nations, especially when you consider the minutes he had to eat up after Heiskanen was sidelined with that knee injury. 25 minutes and change for Harley. He had the shot that went through on the redirection by Mikko Rantanen. He was a real force in the game overall. But anyway, sorry, that was an unintended rant. I liked a lot of Colin Miller's game yesterday, Huss, for a guy who hasn't played a lot on his left side. Involved offensively, 3 shots on net, 6 shot attempts. He did have 2 giveaways, but he also had 2 block shots. It's another capable option. We've known this from the beginning, but my long-winded way of getting to that point, for me, Huss, and I felt this way all year long, and you know this because I've said it on the show, we've got the receipts. I think that Hayden Fleury's skating ability, especially in this series, will give him a slight edge in the battle for the number 6 spot because it's not as physical a series. The Jets don't need Logan Stanley to have a glass rattler on Jordan Kyrou. It's not that it's not going to be physical, but I just think that the puck moving element and the puck moving element we saw from Hayden Fleury in game 7 when he played 33-02, I think will be beneficial in this series. That's not a knock on Stanley. I just think that right now, stylistically, it lines up. The physical part, could you put him out against Rantanen? Yes, but I don't think that would be at the top of the priority list for Dean Chenoweth. Mikko Rantanen's a guy that's tough to handle, but I think he's easier to handle with your feet than he is with your body, though you have to get your body on him and get some licks on him when you have an opportunity to do so.
Well, based on that, is there a scenario that you could see where Colin Miller actually plays ahead of Luke Schenn on that right side? in this
Yeah,
series,
not for me,
considering the
Huss.
important. No,
I mean, I get it. People were ragging on Luke Schenn for the first 6 games. How'd you like Luke Schenn's game?
Oh,
7?
listen, absolutely. Just you were talking about, the foot speed and that sort of thing. Obviously, those are something. But I mean, I'm sort of with you. I mean, I think that if you have Luke Schenn in there to do a lot of that heavy lifting, it basically allows you maybe more. And I think the complement of a Fleury with Luke Schenn, if that is the pairing with Josh Morrissey is back, I think is one that makes the most sense. And that's certainly what I would expect them to go with if they do have a full complement of defensemen.
For sure. And hey, I get it. Luke Schenn was on the ice for more goals than he'd care to be on in the first round. And I just don't think
a couple
that
really rough games, but overall, he came back. And that's the one thing, Ken. I mean, like, this guy's been there, done it, seen it all. Like, I think in our conversation last week, I mean, if there was one guy that can, just park a nightmare performance or a really bad night at the office, I think Luke Schenn, with his veteran savvy, is probably far more capable of doing that. And I think we really saw that, especially when this team was running 5 defensemen in a double overtime game with their season on the line.
For sure, Huss. And again, we talked about last year the emotional toll for Neil Pionk. And I just don't think that people recognize, and it's hard to recognize because Luke Schenn only got here at the deadline. I get it. The emotional toll for Luke to have to go up against his brother, who's one of his best friends in the world, in round 1, and then seeing how, his brother is taking on the villain cap with the hit on Scheifele and running everything that moves in the series. And, he even got to the point where for people who didn't see the interview, watch what Luke Schenn said about the emotional toll going back and forth with his brother and how he finally said he had enough when when Braden got the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty and all of those things. It just wasn't.
What happened there?
He just basically said he had enough. I mean, there was some chirping going on. I don't know if it was necessarily directed at him, but he's like, okay, that's enough now. And he said his parents got all over him again, for doing so. But again, it just was a tough environment. Again, I'm not saying that's the only reason why or whatever else, but Huss, this is a guy who's won 2 Stanley Cups. So in the biggest game of the series, he played his best game. So that's why I think that the Jets, they brought him in here. That's why I think he will remain in the lineup. Hey, Colin Miller is an effective and capable NHL defenseman. But right now, I don't think you have it, based on the penalty kill scenario for Schenn, based on the blocked shots, based on the physical nature, I think Schenn just is right now, he's ahead of him. And that's why he was brought in here. Again, yesterday, 5 hits for Schenn, Force again. And again, it's nice to have a guy like Miller in reserve when you need him, for sure. And it's tough for him because he was a regular for the bulk of the year. I get it. But I mean, the Jets defense core is kind of, just kind of evolved over the course of the year. And Colin's a guy who's playing as hard as he can. And what he did in game 1 is to say to Scott Arniel and Dean Chenault is that if you need an option on the left side also, I'm available to you and I can have an effective game. So I get it. Some folks favor certain things, but Luke Schenn keeps the front of the net cleaner than Colin Miller. I mean, that's also a fact. But is it a fact that Colin Miller has a better offensive game than Luke Schenn? Yes, but Luke Schenn is not there for his offensive game. The Jets have enough other guys that handle that part of the job. And I think his puck moving has gotten better as the playoffs have moved along. And Schenn is a guy who doesn't get rattled under pressure, which is another reason why he's going to stay in the lineup for the Jets and be an effective defenseman.
Wiebe, what did Arnie have to say today? And just a quick update on what did and didn't happen today. I imagine this was a lot of video and rest for the team getting ready for a huge game tomorrow night.
For sure. I mean, he was still pretty steadfast in his belief that he thought his team did not take advantage of opportunities that were presented to them. He thought they had more time, rushed a few plays, didn't generate quite as much, and ultimately just was disappointed in the level of execution. That it just wasn't an effort thing or an intensity thing, but to me, it was just more of a issue where they weren't quite as crisp or as sharp. And speaking with, Adam Lowry and also with Scott Arniel, the starts is something. I mean, we've talked about slow starts and throughout that St. Louis series. No, it didn't cost them on the board, but it kind of got them into a little bit of a chase mentality to a certain degree. And, again, the Jets have been outscored now 13-6 in the second periods, which is kind of abnormal for them because they were a really good closing team last year or throughout the course of the 82, and that hadn't really been an issue for them. But Scott Arniel isn't just worried about falling behind by a goal if it happens and when it happens. This team has battled back all year long. They play the same way no matter what the score is. They just weren't quite, we hear the term Jet hockey a lot, Huss. The Jets didn't get to Jet hockey for a little bit longer than they would have liked to in game one. So I think they're going to be kind of focusing their energy on kind of coming out of the gate with a little bit more authority, a little bit more crispness, and, try to, dictate that. It's interesting though, Huss. You have to be patient against Dallas, but you also have to dictate the terms of the play when you can also, because that's what's going to allow you to have success. It's what allowed them to go 3-1 in the regular season. But it's also, in order to win 4 games in the series, you cannot feed the transition game of the Stars. And that's something that the Jets did a little bit too much in game one. Adam Lowry put it pretty succinctly. They weren't good enough at either blue line, offensively or defensively. They weren't, the puck management was not at an elite level, which is what's part of the reason that has made the Jets successful. And again, it just it didn't allow them to be as crisp in their game, even though they got better as the game wore on.
Wiebe, as always, an absolute pleasure. I will tell you, Sunday night, I thought that this conversation would be very different, but I'm all about it being about game 2 coming up on Friday night. Have a great one. We'll look forward to you and Mike and the entire Free Press team's continued coverage of round 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Have a good one.
Thanks for having me, my friend. And yeah, I know the numbers for you were the same, but after game 7, the shows were buzzing on the old YouTubes. That's for sure.
Insane. It's good for business. It's business is booming, as Antonio Brown would say.
Enjoy game 2, my man.
You
Yep,
got
cheers.
it.
Have a good day.
Right on. There's Ken Wiebe of the Winnipeg Free Press. Speaking of the Freep, Hammer is going to join us. We got to get the lowdown on this Zach Collaros situation, which we'll do in just a moment. Got to shout out Royal Sports. Folks, tomorrow is a big one. All hands on deck for the Jets and the fans as the team looks to even up round 2 at 1-1. If you're looking for your white hoodies, hats, painter pants, everything white for the whiteout, Royal Sports is your whiteout headquarters. I know they had those We Believe signs that we've been seeing out. They were there while supplies last. You can try and grab one of those at Royal as well. But when it comes to Jet merchandise, 12 months a year, it's the number one spot for it. But right now, many exclusives. They restocked the white hoodies in time for round 2, so get down there while supplies last. And while you're at it, check out everything in for spring. Bikes, soccer, softball, baseball, you name it. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Follow them on Insta at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. Man, there was a lot of those Cole 016 shirts last night that our friends at Boston Pizza were giving out. We saw plenty of them at the game last night, and if you were at a BP, which all of them were packed in and around the province, you maybe had your chance to get your hands on one there. Boston Pizza, next best place to be than the whiteout itself for Winnipeg Jet games and, of course, for the road games. All BPs will be rocking. Pick a player contest and the new playoff menu with the wing flights, the Canadian All-Star Poutine, the Scoville Showdown, the Triple Pep Pizza, and, of course, the Wingman Pizza as well. You can also order online at bostonpizza.com for all your favorites and the new items from the playoff menu. Big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug, as I know there will be plenty of those enjoyed at the arena on Friday night. Here's a big cheers to LBJ.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, let's step away from the playoffs for a minute and welcome in Jeff Hamilton. Now, Jeff and I are going to be talking hockey and game 2, and we will do that tomorrow, but we needed a special emergency Hammer appearance on WST because we were all sort of blindsided by the Zach Collaros news yesterday in the midst of getting ready for game number 1. Jeff Hamilton from the Winnipeg Free Press, joins us now. Hammer, great to have you back, and thanks for doing a quickie here today on the show.
No problem, huh? It's nothing like well, I guess it's not a nooner, but it's 2:30 here. It's my regular time anyways. So
you got it. So, so fill us in. Like, what the heck happened? This was, the Bombers are starting rookie camp. We're like, okay, who's coming in here? Who is part of the class of 2025? And it's completely overshadowed by the news that Zach Collaros isn't going to be the quarterback in week 1.
Technically week 2, because the Bombers have that week 1 bye, right? So it's the first game. And yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I was smirking there while you were talking. Remo had to remind me about the mic again. So here it is. Well, I don't think I'll ever get that done. You know what? I think, Haas, the place to start in all this would be his first phone conversation with the CFL Players Association. They called him in mid-February, and it was just a call with a guy who, a colleague of his, obviously. And I'm holding out names just because they don't want names to be tossed. But, we all know the executive of the PA, if you want to go figure that out. But anyways, they had some calls, and it was just kind of like back and forth banter. And, the way Zach described it to me was it almost felt it was just like a conversation. Like, it wasn't odd that they were calling, but it was what they were asking. And so, he was answering the questions of like, what were you doing on this day? And well, what were you, what could you have been doing? What was, this or whatever. And so he finished that conversation, was confused by it, was told eventually about like who was calling, right? The Canadian Center of Ethics and Sports. And even then it didn't click to Zach, like, oh, like, was there anything I needed to do? Like, he had no idea about this off-season testing, never heard of it, never knew anybody who had done it, never had, whatever. So then when he got a second call from the PA, and it was about a few days later, and it was very similar to that. It was a similar conversation. He finally asked himself, like, is anything wrong here? Like, I don't quite understand why we're talking about this. And I think it still went on. He didn't get much clarity. And then a month later, he got an email from the PA indicating that he had been suspended for two games. And so right when he got that email, I mean, that's when things became really real, right? And so he didn't quite understand. He's panicking. He's worrying. He's wondering what he needs to, like, he starts to actually do his research and what the whole process entails and what the off-season testing entails. And he finds out that, from this email, he finds out that it was February 4th that he, was where an official at CCES tried to contact him. That contact process with the policy is within a 2-hour window, 2 phone calls, 1 voicemail message, and a text message and an email. A blast out, right? On anyone, you or I or anybody else would probably be able to, be contacted. Anyways, Zach remembers that day. It was the first day of free agency. It was the start of a Super Bowl week. And so he was pretty busy. Obviously, he's got teammates that haven't signed deals. Kenny Lawler, for instance, was a guy who was still trying to work out an extension in Winnipeg. He's, of course, really close friends with Travis Kelce. So he was getting kind of phone calls that week, trying to get his 2 cents on his buddy as he was about to play in his 3rd consecutive Super Bowl. And the other thing, too, and I know this sounds like a defense for Zach, but like, I know Zach on a bit of a personal level. Like, he's a football player. Like, he's the kind of guy who doesn't check his email. Like, he just doesn't have a reason for an email, apparently. And like, that's not new. Like, it's trying to get a hold of him. Like, when I went down to his hometown, for instance, like, I approached him 2 months before, and as it creeped towards that trip, he's like, yeah, man, don't worry. I'll get on it a month before, 3 weeks, 2 weeks. We're like a week before. And I'm like, dude, get me these. I need some. I don't even have the numbers to your parents, family, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't until I was in the terminal in Toronto for my layover to Pittsburgh that he finally provided me a phone number, and it had all been taken care of. Anyways, it's just I bring up that story because he's a bit of a scatterbrain. He's also a popular guy, so he's not a guy who's on social media. He's not a guy who Googles his name and sees what people are talking about him and whatnot. So, anyways, he figures out it was that day. And now he's trying to figure out what the whole policy is about. Again, as I mentioned earlier, he had no idea that you would be if you were phoned or you were contacted by these officials, that you had 24 hours, right? He just had no idea that was in place, his naiveness. And meanwhile, in this whole thing, he's panicked. He's not panicking. He's worried. He's concerned about himself, his reputation. He's got a lot of people that look up to him, like, back home here in Winnipeg, across the CFL, and he just doesn't understand how it could go so awry. And so he gets on the phone. He calls Wade Miller. Wade Miller gets involved. He calls his agent, Vertlieb, Dan Vertlieb, top agent in the league. He gets the help of his dad, Art Vertlieb, who is a prominent lawyer in BC and has a long history with the PA. And this is what's interesting, Huss, because the big part is, anybody who feels like they're innocent, particularly when it comes to a drug testing claim or lack of responding or whatever, wants to clear their name. They want to fight. We saw this in 2019 with Andrew Harris. The big difference here is that Andrew Harris's fight, if you will, included explaining why there was a performance-enhancing drug in his system. What Zach had to prove was that, find a bylaw or a precedent or something that would allow him to justify his failure to respond. Obviously, when you look at the rules and they're in place, he doesn't really have an excuse. Those are the rules that, as ridiculous as anyone wants to consider them, that's what was agreed upon by the Players Association and the league. And so when they put it in place and he failed it, he didn't have an escape. It's at that moment, obviously, Hustler, where the league gets involved, right? Because there is a technical arbitration process. There is a process that if you want to fight this is what you do. You can do that during this process. Like it wouldn't be like Zach, has failed or failed to respond from a drug test and he's now appealing the process. You do that before it's made public in the event that you can actually win, right? With Andrew Harris, tried to exhaust that, didn't work out, right? Had to take his 2 games. And then tried to go further and further to clear his name, right? Whatever. So back to Zach, he would have to prove that. It was a losing battle, talking to the league, gain a better understanding of what the policy is, the league and Players Association acknowledging that it's flawed. I'm not even sure that this has ever happened before, Haas. I don't know, if you have a guy who's been in the league for 14 years and doesn't know about a phone call in a 24-hour window, how many guys do you think also don't know?
Yeah, it seems like there is a little bit of, whether this is on the team's part, whether it's on the PA's part, certainly some of it's on the player's part. This is something that wasn't top of mind for one of the most important players in the Canadian Football League. So as far as the, explain the appeal. Like he didn't do the appeal. Listen, this wasn't our thing.
Yeah, okay. You don't do the appeal. So the next question is, well, why is it 1 game? So picking up where I left off, the league had acknowledged, understood, and this is the part that we don't know, right? The league isn't just going to be like, oh, don't worry about it, yada yada. There has to be something in there, like this hasn't been done for years, hasn't been done at all. There's might be past failures of players who just aren't in the league anymore, or maybe they are in the league but recognize it's ridiculous. It seems to me, and this is just pure speculation, but understanding and knowing the league the way I do, this year, and I'll give credit to John Hodge in 3 Down Nation, he wrote a story about the non-counters this year. And so I won't go into this big talk about non-counters. Non-counters are players that don't count against the totals at training camp, usually permitted for people who were recently picked in drafts. Well, what you would do is you get drafted, you'd sign, you'd go to camp, you'd get your first camp under your belt. If you went back to school, you went back to school. And if you finished up that year, you could be a non-counter again. Teams were just doing that. That wasn't even the rule. Somebody came into the rule book, read it to the letter of the law, and then just literally read it to the teams this season. So those players who signed a contract last year that were drafted, guess what? They're shit out of luck this year to come to training camp because they'll be a counter. So this, I could give you a laundry list of these examples. The tampering period for a week. They brought that in there because teams just tampered all the time. People talked all the time, and they just were like, hey, we need to put the rule in. I think someone checked the drug policy this this summer and was like, hey, let's follow this to the letter of the law. And they end up getting one of the best players in the league. Now, again, that's speculation here. But the interesting part, Huss, too, is my big question in all this was like, well, what's fair? Right? Like, what's fair on its surface? Like, is 24 hours a good enough time? I'd like to think if someone wanted to get a hold of me, I'd probably get back to them in 24 hours. But if I was on a trip somewhere or doing something, that would be my concern. For sure. I'm a guy who's checking his phone all the time. My email, text messages, like
it's the off season. What if you're on an African safari?
Well, 100%. And we can get into whether or not CFL players get paid enough to check their phones every day, 24/7. But that's beside the point. I called the Canadian Center in Ethics and Sports and got their executive director of sport integrity. And I wanted to ask him what the best practices were for advance notice testing. Right? That's what this is. You have an advance notice. You have 24 hours to get back to them. You can get back to them in 23 hours. That is advance notice. Most of the testing, traditional testing, is done on the spot. Like no advance testing, which when I spoke with the CCES, when I asked them best practices, rather than sharing best practices, he just read to me, because he can't speak specifically to the CFL policy, just said what they do. Reading between the lines, Huss, nobody does advanced time testing. So their recommendation, that isn't even something that CCES would recognize. That is a unique rule to the Canadian Football League that was negotiated by the Players Union and the league, that CCES, who doesn't even have a spot at the table when they go through this, isn't helping them do it. It's just the league negotiating, arguing, because the PA's arguing for more time for their cheat players, I guess. And so they created this own rule, and now they're falling over it. And then it's just like everyone looks dumb in this process, right?
Yeah, it's well, listen, it's something that we'll certainly talk. I know you got to get out of here. 30 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
So does that mean Strev's going to get game one?
Probably. I mean, I imagine that's the plan. I mean, it is unique. Is it a back-to-back to BC for 2-3, or is it? Well, I don't think so. Maybe it's not. But I know that BC is the opponent. It's kind of interesting. They do have a little bit of extra time to prepare their quarterback for that game with the week, right? The extra week. So. I'm assuming it's Chris Streveler. You know, Mike O'Shea. He doesn't announce the starter or any starters until the depth chart comes out that morning before the game. So I don't think he's going to give us a month ahead look for week 2. And who knows what could happen, right? But hey, to your point, Huss, Streveler is cleared to play and ready to go after tearing all 3 ligaments. So I think I'm assuming he'll be available. Whether or not he'll be behind center, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Cannot wait for it. Hey, listen, dude, thanks for jumping on for this. I'll look forward to talking to you tomorrow. We'll dive into the Jets, game 2, and much more on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Have a good one, and thanks for dropping in.
Yeah, right on. Looking forward to it. Talk later.
Good stuff. All right, there's the hammer, Jeff Hamilton. Hey, you know what? Let's do the why not question of the day today on the Zach Collaros situation. What are your thoughts? Is the 1-game suspension, does that make sense? Is that a good compromise based on everything that we just learned from Hammer? Do they need to stick to these rules? And is it, I mean, if you talk to anyone in Saskatchewan, they're saying this is BS. He should be suspended for 2 games. Or is this just a misunderstanding that, frankly, there's a lot of people that probably have a hand in, and this should be a yellow card and 0 suspension? Let us know in the chat for the why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. Assiniboia Downs, folks, getting going next Tuesday. I think we're going to have our pal Darren Dunn jump on for his annual visit ahead of the beginning of the season. We'll look forward to doing that next week as well. But asdowns.com for the full schedule. It's going to be mainly Tuesdays and Wednesdays with Mondays scattered throughout the year. We're going late this year. We're going all the way into October. But next Tuesday and Wednesday, your first week of live racing at Assiniboia Downs. You can, I know the Mother's Day, I'm sure, is already sold out long in advance for the brunch on Mother's Day, but there's nothing like that delicious prime rib buffet they do before all the nights of live racing in the clubhouse dining room. You can make a reservation by calling Assiniboia Downs and find out more on the entire upcoming season. And cannot wait to get back to the track and hopefully defend my title against Michael Remis when we start making picks next week on the track. Shout out to our friends at Breezy Bend. We got the Truist Championship right now at the Philadelphia Cricket Club for our Breezy Bend Golf Report. This is the final tune-up before the PGA Championship. And wow, Denny McCarthy went low today, 62, 8 under par. Ricky Fowler, 7 under. Nice start for Ricky. We got 6 unders that include Patrick Cantlay, Colin Morikawa, Thomas Detry, or Cantlay's at 5 under, I should say. Looking for Canadians on the scoreboard. Justin Thomas, 4 under right now. Taylor Pendrith, tied for 28th at 3 under par right now. Corey Connors, 2 under par. Action will continue. No cut event. And then next week, it's on. Second major of the year. We'll see if Rory can keep this thing going at Quail Hollow, a course that he has historically absolutely owned. Shout out to our friends at Breezy Bend, hosting the 2025 Manitoba Open. If you want more info on potentially making Breezy your long-term golfing home, give our pal Corey Johnson a call about getting on the waiting list or find out more information at breezybend.ca. All right, Goldeyes season officially begins tonight. Now, we do have to get to the Coolbet lines, talk about what's going on this evening, and don't forget, all you Coolbetters that entered in the contest on our website, we'll be executing that and finding out who's going to Game 2 in a moment. But with the Goldeyes beginning the season today, we got to wait till that home opener on May 20th, which is kind of unfortunate because it's so gorgeous outside right now. This, of course, would be the one year would be great to have the Goldeyes here right now, although everyone's pretty occupied with the Stanley Cup playoffs. It will be May 20 that the fish are back. And, of course, the entire journey starts in Cleburne. And we caught up with Logan Watkins, the fish manager and defending American Association Manager of the Year, on the road with the club to Cleburne, Texas for today's opening game of the season. Let's catch up with Logan right now for a quick chat ahead of game number 1. Logan, welcome back to Winnipeg Sports Talk. How are you?
Hey, it's good to be back. I'm ready for another baseball season. I know everyone's focus is probably on the Jets series, and I know a lot of my players are right there with them, but definitely excited for baseball season to get going as well.
No doubt about it. You know, what's crazy is that not only are the Jets doing what they're doing and now into the second round of the playoffs, but normally you guys start on the road because, I mean, we could have a few centimeters of snow on the ground. It's like midsummer temperatures right now. So of all the years to have you guys gone, this is maybe an unfortunate one, but you do get after it today, and you've been traveling down to Cleburne over the last week and a half. How has the very abbreviated training camp and exhibition season gone for the fish as you get ready to open it up for real tonight?
It's been good. We've dealt with some injuries, unfortunately, on the pitching side. We've lost a couple guys, I think, for the year, and then we're waiting on results on a couple other MRIs from some pitchers. That's unfortunate, but we added quite a few pieces, I think, that are going to be pretty big factors for us this year, and then we're kind of working to fill those holes, those injured guys on the pitching staff. And, you know, it's definitely a challenge. It's not something that you like to have happen right when the season starts, but again, I feel like we've kind of made some improvements in other parts of the team that we do kind of get out of the gate slow pitching-wise. You know, hopefully offensively this year, I think we've definitely improved our lineup. So hopefully we'll be scoring more runs this year and maybe have a little bit more of a balanced team than perhaps last year when we had just such a dominant pitching staff.
Yeah, you know, I was just about to mention that. I mean, your pitching staff was, I mean, simply incredible and led you guys all the way to the finals. Joey Matalovich retiring, obviously a big blow. I do see Landon Barassa back, but how difficult was it to fill the holes even before these injuries happened?
Yeah, I mean, if we're being honest, we weren't going to be able to, you know, fill Joey Matulovic's spot. I mean, the kind of production we got out of him last year was pretty unprecedented, and that was always going to be extremely difficult to kind of fill those shoes. But we added some good arms. Mentioned we got Landon Barasa back, which is big, and he'll get the ball tonight on opening day, and I'm happy for him. I think he deserves it. Lost a couple big key contributors in the bullpen, and Ben Anishko and Nick Iverson and Tom Ponticelli and a couple other guys, so we're definitely looking to replace them, but we've added some good arms out there too. Yeah, on paper, I feel pretty good about it. I think I mentioned this to you last year, though. Like, as good as you feel about a team on paper, you're not really sure what you have until we start playing. And we're playing against Cleburne and Kansas City again to start the year, who have a pretty loaded rosters themselves. So it'll be a good challenge for us right out of the gate. And I'm kind of just excited to get going. We'll get a better idea of what we have, this first week or two into the season. Spring training is kind of that time where we're kind of letting guys kind of get some momentum leading into opening day and kind of work on their swings a little bit and stuff like that. So you have an idea, but you're not 100% sure what you got. So kind of excited to get it rolling, and we can make an adjustment, throughout the first month of the season as far as if there's any roster moves that need to be made, we need to make any acquisitions or things like that. But game one tonight should be a good one. I'm excited to be back in Cleburne, and we'll kind of see what happens.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, we'll be getting a lot more familiar once you and the squad gets back home to the ballpark here in Winnipeg. But, I mean, legendary Max Murphy, he's back right now. You got Bramasco back, Kevin Garcia. But the one guy that it was going to be back that isn't is Dason Crows. And, listen, it's a tough loss for the Goldeyes, but you got to feel good for a guy that did so much here to get that opportunity with a major league organization.
Yeah, it's been long overdue. Huge blow, don't get me wrong, but kind of maybe one I anticipated. He went down and played in the Baseball Champions League in Mexico. I guess it would have been about a month ago, and he did extremely well. So, I mean, I was kind of thinking the Mexico team would make him an offer he couldn't refuse at some point after what he did down there. But I'm actually happy that an affiliated team finally came to their senses and got him before, the team did. So it's a huge blow, but not one that I was like completely caught off guard by. I figured we would only have him for a short time, if at all. Really happy for him. He's going to go and he's going to do great things, hopefully, in the San Francisco Giants organization. And definitely a guy, the last 2 years in Winnipeg has definitely earned the right to go see if he can get to the big leagues. So I'm happy for him. I don't know, that's kind of like Joey Matulovich. I don't know if we can necessarily fill those shoes, but hopefully the lineup will just be a lot more balanced from 1 through 9 this year. We have some options of different guys we can play at second base where Dason was going to be. It should be interesting to see. I don't know if maybe one player will fill those shoes, but hopefully a collection of a couple of guys can kind of maintain that production that he left behind.
Good stuff. Well, listen, Logan, we can't wait to see you and the fellas back at the ballpark to get things going for the home opener on May 20th. In the meantime, good luck tonight in the season opener in Cleburne. Play well, travel safely, and we'll see you back in the peg and follow you guys all the way as the season opens tonight. Thanks for doing this, and good luck.
Yeah, thanks. It was good to hear from you guys again. We'll definitely talk soon.
All right, good luck to the Fish tonight, and as they say, stay tuned for the details on the WST patio party night. We're going to do that towards the end of June, and we'll set up a couple other fun group nights for Goldeyes baseball this year. All right, let's get to fan feedback, brought to you by Fans First, your number one spot for buying and selling tickets on the resale market. Very busy place right now is Fans First with the hysteria around the playoffs. And I think that a lot of people probably got a pretty good deal last night. I do know a couple people that got some relatively late, just knowing that, it's probably tough for people to go to all the games. And if you're picking between 1 and 2, the Friday night game heading into the weekend was probably the one people wanted to get to. But no fees at Fans First. Best part about it, what you see is what you pay. And certainly from a seller's standpoint, as someone that's used it many times, amazing customer service, quick payment the next day. You know exactly what you get, what you're scheduled to get back when you post your tickets. Really is an amazing service, and it is by fans, for fans, no fees. All right, we asked you what you thought about this this suspension to Zach. Matt Hyman says Zach isn't above the rules. They made the changes going forward. Ray, it's BS. Should just be suspended for the first preseason game at most. Phyllis, it's fine. It's the first game of the year. BS split. Sask, ask Andrew Harris. Ooh, shots fired. Rob Pepper, sounds goofy, but take the one game and move on. Corey May, first caught flaw against the league on off-season testing. One game is fine. Call it a truce. And T. Konopoli, I don't really think it's fair and they should reschedule, but who the F doesn't answer their phone yet answers the PA call? Well, like everyone, you get all these ridiculous numbers calling you. That's always BS. But if you have someone that's in your contacts that's calling you, you know who it is and you pick up. The beauty of call display. And Phyllis admonishing Zach, come on, Zach, pull up your socks and pay attention to stuff like that. Hey, the guy's got 55,000 unread emails. Julian DeBossier, they need to fix the system. But the nature of having reputable drug testing, there needs to be punishments for failure to adhere to procedures, even if the procedures are dumb. Great take by Julian there. There is the thing. And T-Well, I think this is an honest mistake, and I think Saskatchewan should be suspended for about 18 games. Good stuff from everyone. Keep the fan feedback coming. Brought to you by Fans First, by fans, for fans, no fees. Check out the site today at fansfirst.ca. All right, we are just a couple of minutes away from our big Coolbet race for all you cool bettors to potentially win tickets to Game 2 of the playoffs. If you missed yesterday's show and you are a cool better or want to get an account, you can get in on these tickets. What you need to go is to head over to Winnipeg Sports Talk. You will see the playoffs in the PEG link. You click on that. We need your name, your email, preferably your phone number so we can actually get a hold of you to make sure you can get these tickets, sometimes on quick turnaround. And then what is key for this round is that you got to put your Coolbet ID or your Coolbet handle in there. If you don't have a Coolbet account, would love to get you on board with us. And there's a link right there that you can go in and get going. And of course, use the promo code WST if you are signing up on your first deposit for a 100% bonus up to $200. But we've got a lot of cool bettors in that are looking forward to going to the game. So we'll get to that in just a minute. But let's get to tonight's action. Edmonton and Vegas. The Oilers plus 115 dogs on the money line. Man, they've looked good lately. They won 5 in a row, coming back in every game. And this is a big one. Much like tomorrow is going to be crucial for the Jets, this is a huge game for the Vegas Golden Knights. Home favorites at minus 135. Now you look at that Carolina-Washington game, and I think I did my full mea culpa yesterday. I've been all in on Washington. I'm like, they were the best team all year. Why are the books, why are the odds makers so horny for the Hurricanes? Doesn't make sense to me. Well, I found out in spades in game number 1. Carolina was just absolutely phenomenal. Washington was fortunate to be up 1-0. Carolina finally tied it. They were by far the better team for the entire game in overtime and certainly deserved it. Still surprising to see them minus 167 favorites on the road in DC against the Caps. Caps plus 141. Home dogs tonight. In game 2, they, like Vegas and the Jets, need to get that home win to get things back to even. Leafs up 2-0. Wow, what a start for them. They're big underdogs, though, in Toronto for game 3, plus 190. Panthers minus 227. And the Jets have opened up as minus 120 favorites tomorrow night against the Dallas Stars at plus 102. Last night, Dallas was a slight favorite over Winnipeg. and did get the win. As far as the series prices, Vegas and Edmonton, the Oilers are minus 217 now after their win. Leafs minus 217 after their 2 wins at home. Washington plus 305 underdogs after losing that first game at home. I'm looking at the numbers for the Jets. I guess that's off the board right. I think they're waiting to see what the story is with Morrissey coming back. But the Cup odds have changed. And all of a sudden now, after losing game 1 at home, the Jets all the way back to 15-1. So if you're still a believer and you haven't liked the numbers that the Jets have been as they've gotten a little short, back to 15-1, which was the biggest number all year long. Obviously, they've got their work cut out for them after losing game 1. But hey, listen, if they've made it happen in the fashion that they did in the first one, we should. We'll be talking about a series here. They've got to get in tomorrow, and that's on that money line bet. Of course, Coolbet, Stanley Cup playoffs, it's all there for you. NBA playoffs, the T-Wolves, 10.5-point favorites tonight in their game at home against the Golden State Warriors, minus 526 on the money line. Remo, I know we were all locked in on the hockey. But did you see the Knicks? Second consecutive game coming back from 20 down on the road against the Celtics. And New York is now up 2-0 in their series, coming back to MSG. Ticket prices are skyrocketing. And yet the Celtics were such a big favorite in the series. Despite losing the first 2 games at home, it is a pick'em in the series between Boston and New York.
I didn't see that, but I did see that Paul Pierce, he lost a bet and has to walk to work now, and he has to walk a pretty long distance. I assume he's backing the Celtics. So keeping a loose eye here as we're focused on the Jets in the playoffs, but we haven't seen the Knicks with a run for a long time. They've been pretty bad for a while here. So what an upset that would be over the Celtics.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. Okay, so let's get this ready. I'm just sending you a quick message on one other one that is not eligible. And we should be good to go. Check that out, Remo. Just fired it out. We got everything confirmed. And again, if you missed yesterday's program, we'll be doing this again for a potential Game 5, for a potential Game 7. If you have a Coolbet account, head over to winnipegsportstalk.com, click on the playoffs in the peg, fill out the cells, and you'll be in for the marble races where the first one across is going to be winning the tickets. By the way, shout out to Underdog. He came by and found me yesterday at the game. He was the one that won the Game 1 tickets last night. Brought his son, got a chance to meet him. They were over the moon to get a chance to check out the playoffs in the whiteout. And he was telling me a story. He said he's not a soccer guy, Remo, but he follows me and he follows our pal Gabe Morency. And Gabe had been tweeting so much about the Vancouver Whitecaps and how they're killing everyone. He had just been following Gabe and betting at Coolbet on the Whitecaps and had a very nice upswing in his account thanks to Gabe's Whitecaps picks. And by the way, if you missed the news right off the top of the show that I mentioned, shout out to Valor FC. Valor FC won in the Canadian Championship yesterday. They now move on to the Final 8, and we will be playing MLS powerhouse, the Vancouver Whitecaps, in a home-and-home in the Canadian Championship. Just looking at DM, I was wondering when that game is. It hasn't been announced yet, but it will be the latest in June, I would imagine. Leg 1 is in May sometime. I think the first leg will be in Vancouver, and then the second leg back here at Princess Auto Stadium. So very, very cool news for Valor, and that will be, I imagine, one of the biggest games that they've ever played in their franchise history. Sam Adekugbe from the national team as well, playing for the Nats, so playing for the Caps. So that will be very, very cool. All right, so shout out to Valor. Good luck to the Goldeyes tonight. Sea Bears just around the corner. Bomber training camp beginning. And yet we're smack dab in the middle of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Jets got to have it tomorrow against the Dallas Stars. We'll have a big show tomorrow. Marty Biron on tomorrow's program. Cannot wait for that. We'll have Jeff Hamilton come on and more. And hopefully I'll be feeling a little bit better. I've been nearly on the DL, but powering through this as needs to happen in and around the playoffs. By the way, there's also going to be like $1 million 50-50. Dwayne Green's going to jump on with us, and we'll get all that details. Remo, we ready to do this?
Yeah, let me just close all my tabs here, and we'll get going. Let me see how many entries we got here. 105 entry us, and I will also say doing draws, this weekend for, and I guess for street party tickets for game 2. I'll do that tonight. And then watch party game 3 and 4. WinnipegSportsTalk.com. Click contest at the top, or WinnipegSportsTalk.com/contest. Pretty popular. The watch parties, we've seen some good crowds for those. Everyone's got the towels going. They're fired up. So hopefully the Jets have a better showing on the road this series than last series, because I think people were leaving early at some of those watch parties. Well, one of them was pretty late, but Sunday afternoon, Tuesday, 7 p.m.
The Sunday afternoon should be a real great, if you have some kids and you haven't been able to get into the building because of how much tickets are, and you didn't really want to being part of some of the craziness of the street party, this is probably a great chance to, especially with little ones, to kind of feel like they're part of the whiteout excitement. Again, tickets are $10, but we've got some tickets to give away. So go over to winnipegsportstalk.com and get in on the contest as well. And yes, T-Will, no days off, Huss. Excuse me, I probably could have used one. But again, T-Will, for you, for the crew, we've got to power through. I will not be taking part in my usual Thursday night revelry or buffoonery. I will be locked in on tomorrow. A big show and an even bigger game tomorrow night at Canada Life Center. And right now, thanks to our great partners at Coolbet, we're going to be sending somebody to game 2. And we're going to do it through a marble race. And I'm pumped, Remo. The fact that we're putting everybody in, I think the Champions Fire, whatever it is going to be, I think it's going to play a little differently with 100 marbles. I think we could have some interesting traffic jams. I think there could be some more top ropes and eliminations. And the fact of the matter is, this is the coolest course for something like this, because you're not really in until you're in. You can get into that orb with the lead, and all of a sudden there's 20 marbles in there. So this is going to be a fun one.
Yes. I'm excited. I got to load the names in. We have, how many did I say? 105 of them.
105, right on.
So 1 sec. So Champions Fire Project,
I think that's what it is.
Champions Fire Project. What a track that
we got to get a hold. We got to somehow track down Dylan 70. Send him like a WST hoodie or something like that. He probably has no idea. This guy, he's really into marbles on stream. He's done all these incredible creations. Probably has no idea what a central focus it has become here on the program.
I would agree. We got the track here loaded, ready to go.
All right. Good luck to everybody. Hey, we didn't get the win last night, but that just means the Jets' odds are going to be better through the rest of this. And hey, it's back to 15-1 if you still think they might be able to take this whole thing down. Anyways, I digress. Shout out to Coolbet and Pat and Jake and the gang for making this contest possible. Someone's going to be very happy at the end of this race. Register if you haven't already with your Coolbet ID at the WinnipegSportsTalk.com website. But right now, We got 105. Good luck to everyone. Let's drop them in the Champions Fire Project for Game 2 tickets. Wow, very, very good start for Yachi, I believe that is. Steve K looking good. SCW. Zada. Oh, we just saw somebody get popped. Who's here? Cluno. Yeah, there is going to be a few. Wicked Jan just got wrecked. There's Westy 1. WST. Who's that? Oh, Westy 1 was in the lead and now out. What happened there, Reem? Oh, you just turned the marbles off for a second.
Yeah, I was hitting buttons, sorry.
No problem. All right, who's in the first? Oh, is that Wayne Bretsky?
Wayne Bretsky.
Bretsky. A big-time regular in the WST Discord. By the way, Jake is starting up a Coolbet Discord as well. We'll kind of link to the WST group as well if people want to get in on that. Great way to stay in touch on all the cool promos and contests and stuff they've got going over there. And if you haven't, make sure to check out the check out. Oh yeah, some more Jets fan out. Storm NYR out. Opt in for that Cabot links. If you're a golf fan, make sure to go to the promo tab and just opt in for that and get in for the raffle for that trip for 4 out to Crabbo. Okay, who is that? Jets
will win.
Jets will win 25. You got to love that handle. Taking a sweet time getting into this funnel. But still in first place, I guess. Who's going to have coming? Kate, now there's... Oh, look at T. Will. Brittany R. and T. Will. And Zada, 1, 2, 3. Okay, this is going to come down to one of these three. Brittany R. is first in to the orb. T. Will is into the orb. Draw word. Zada, 1, 2, 3. Looks like Brittany R. is first out. Anyone going to be able to catch her? No, she kind of went back in. Brittany and Zada, 1, 2, 3. Who's coming in? Eagle Eyes out of nowhere. Who's going to fall? But no, it's Brittany. Brittany R. Did Eagle Eyes get shot there?
Yeah, Eagle Eyes came over the top out of nowhere and landed right onto the finish thing, but couldn't get through the circles there.
Oh my God, this track is so good. This track is so good. Congratulations to Brittany R. Britt, nice to see some of the ladies get in the mix here. Final top 10 here. Brittany R, Zerg 106, Perry Keano, Ringer 11, Hugh Jass 23, Tedley 2, Jets will win 25, Zodi 1, 2, 3, T Will. Oh, T Will, you were right there. Stiegel is the top 10. But yes, Brittany R, the winner. Get ready for a crazy Friday night, Britt. We'll be getting in contact with you. We'll fire you over the tickets, and I hope you have a great, great time. Good seats, too, in the upper bowl. Maybe we'll see you there. You can pop by the bar in 316. It'll be popping tomorrow night. Anyone that's entered already, don't worry. You don't need to enter again. You will all be in for Game 5 and Game 7, if there is one. And if you missed yesterday and you want to get in, get over to the Party in the Playoffs link at winnipegsportstalk.com. And again, a huge shout out to Patty and the gang from Coolbet for making this all possible, and appreciate you guys all support. And as I say, we got to cook up something for tomorrow's WST parlay. And Remis, actually, while we're here, we just changed the audio output to the speakers. Tomorrow, we may have to include one Kyle Connor for the for our WST parlay. KFC time. You see this, everybody? 10, 10,000 of these will be given out at tomorrow's game. The KFC bucket hat. And Remo, just imagine how ridiculous that is going to look on television with that many people wearing these KFC bucket hats.
Yeah, they look crazy. So,
what do you think, everybody? Yeah, people are loving this. I like it better than Huss's dad hat. Yeah, after you guys all hat shamed me, that one hasn't come out very often. I do it more in an indignant nature. But yes, tomorrow, the KFC buckets, 10,000 of them are be given away at the game. So check that out, everybody. And we'll go from there. Remo, great show. We powered through. Brittany's going to the game with the Coolbet WST contest. Congratulations to her. We rest up. We get ready for a big show tomorrow on a Friday. And then get back into the whiteout tomorrow night and see if the Jets can tie it up at 1. Marty Baron on the show tomorrow. Jeff Hamilton, Dwayne Green, much more to come. Make sure to join us at 1 p.m. Thanks again to all the guests today. Hammer for the emergency visit, talking Zach Collaros, Steve Peters, Ken Wiebe, and good luck to the Goldeyes on their season and their opening game tonight. Good to have Logan Watkins with us as well. Thanks again to all the sponsors, all of you for making us a part of your day. We'll see you tomorrow, 1 p.m. right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.